start our conference this morning. Thank you for honoring our invitations. And in our midst this morning, we want to recognize the presence of the Deputy Executive Director, Kampala Capital City Authority. You're most welcome, sir. We also want to recognize the presence of the Executive Director of Uganda National Bureau of Standards. You're most welcome, sir. We also want to recognize the presence of the representatives of the executive directors of the different institutions that we have in our midst. That is PPDA. We also have a representative of the executive director for NEMA. We also have a representative for the executive director of Uganda Communications Commission. You're most welcome. We have a representative of the Uganda Association of Consulting Engineers. Also, you're most welcome. We have a representative of the chairperson of IPPU Uganda. You're also most welcome. We have the representative of the executive director for National Enterprise Corporation. You're also most welcome. And we also have the representative of the commissioner of the Ministry of Finance. You are most welcome. Ladies and gentlemen, we also want to welcome the directors of Kampala Capital City Authority. You are most welcome. We also want to welcome all the deputy directors of Kampala Capital City Authority. Thank you for honoring the invitation. We also want to honor the presence of the representatives of the development partners. You are most welcome as well. And lastly, but not least, we want to welcome our guests and the chief guests this morning, and those are our suppliers. You're most welcome this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, allow me to get an opening prayer from Engineer Justice Akankwasa, and then we're going to have our first presentation coming through. Then we shall progress on with our program. Thank you very much. Let's have an opening prayer.
Let's humble ourselves and pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you that you are God Almighty, the God who created heaven and earth, and the God who created us. We want to thank you for Kampala Capital City Authority that you put in place to govern issues of administration of this city. We want to thank you for all the partners who have been supporting us to deliver on our mandate. We thank you for all these participants, our suppliers, and other MDAs. We want to thank you, Lord God, for each one of them. And as we gather here in your presence, we pray that you be with us and that whatever we discuss will result into actions that will be for the good of this city and for the glory of your holy name. In your precious name, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, allow me to invite the first presentation of this conference. This is coming from the head procurement, the deputy director procurement and disposal, the deputy director procurement and disposal department, Madame Doreen Tiberonda Akatuhera. Let us welcome her together with the director public health and environment. They're going to be taking us through the first presentation this morning. Yes, another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, as she takes stage. You're most welcome, Madam, to take us through.
Thank you, Edgar. Thank you for inviting me. I realize he observed protocol. I think I'll ride on that protocol because of the time. Members, we are glad to host you. As you've seen, my name is Doreen Akatuhera Tiveronda. The long name, sometimes that is difficult for people to pronounce. Can you please, I'll begin by sharing with you our objectives for this presentation. We are here to raise awareness among our stakeholders along the supply chain on their roles regarding conserving the ecosystem. This is developed from our theme this year for our conference, Sustainable Supply Chain for Ecosystem Conservation. We are here to highlight the initiatives taken by Kcca towards, first come please, towards conserving the ecosystem in the city, and also to highlight opportunities for collaboration in sustainable innovations by stakeholders among the supply chain. People of technology, I don't know whether it's my gadget that is slow, but help me move it fast. We don't have time. Okay. So let me define key concepts. What is a supply chain? It is going back. It's a network of activities requiring material to a finished product for delivery to the end customer. All of us in this room, we have a product, a service, we buy or we create or we offer. So supply chain, each project goes through such a supply chain. And who are the key actors in the supply chain? We want to know. These are people like me and you, the organizations, information flow, and the resources. It encompasses everything from the extraction of raw materials to the final product. How about the ecosystem? Members, do we know the word ecosystem? Where do we live? What is it? It is the interaction of both natural and man-made elements within the environment. So it includes the built-up environment, this hotel is part of it, social structures, natural components like people, plants, and animals, soil, water, etc. But why a bother? You can see these days, things have changed. The heat is extreme. It comes at the wrong time. Rains come unexpectedly. So what can we do? We must manage our supply chain. So what is sustainable supply chain? To us, it is putting in consideration the social bit, the environmental and economic bit as we do our businesses, our daily activities, to ensure that we live in harmony with the planet. It involves coordinating all the supply chain activities to meet our needs today without compromising the needs of tomorrow. So the supply chain has two critical segments. We have the upstream. We have the middle and downstream. That is a pictorial representation of the supply chain. You are our suppliers, we are your consumers, but each of us today must map yourselves where you belong. If I mention Mukwano Industries today, or Sterling, where do we put it in relation to the supply chain? What does Mukwano do? For example, you are in manufacturing. You buy materials, you transport, you process, you package, you deliver through your channels. tier 1, 2, 3, until the final person receives it. What happens there? What are you affecting? We are affecting the air, water, trees, and the environment generally. So if we don't manage that, we are spoiling the future for the next generation. So we are saying all activities have to go through procurement. Why don't we call all of us that deliver the service in one forum like this one, and we understand our role, and we see what we can do to solve the challenges that we are experiencing. So the main flaws are those as I had put them in that diagram. So let's move and look at the actors in the supply chain. The upstream, we have different materials. We have natural ones, we have agriculture. All of you go to markets. What happens there? What reaches the market? Does it require to reach there? Can't it be at least transported in? This is what we are saying. How about minerals? Synthetic fabrics. How are we packaging them? How are we using them? And what is the impact they have? Let's move to the next slide, please. So, we have examples in the upstream. We brought out the raw material in the oil sector. What is happening there? What is happening in now construction? When I bring the iron ore, I want our contractors to press yourselves where you mine marram that we use on our roads. How do we leave that place? How do we manage it? Let's map ourselves and see what we can do to ensure that we solve the ecosystem. So those are part of the raw materials that we do. We excavate, we transport, we process, etc., etc. Let's go. The upstream, the activities are those. They transport, storage, and distribute. And we shall be seeing the impact they have. So let's move. We are saving time. Upstream is so close to the environment, and the environment feels its impact more than the rest of the segments. Look at that deforestation, look at emissions, look at extraction of that stone that we use for different purposes. It creates air pollution. It creates, that is now, leakages that are affecting our water. All of us, press yourself where you belong. What impact do you have on the planet Earth with its content? So, we are now talking about the downstream. When I press government, where Kcca belongs, where UNBS, PPDA, and the rest, we are in the downstream. We receive the products we use, we distribute, we give out, we build, we do service delivery generally. But what is the impact? We produce, we repackage. So, plus our immediate suppliers, like those who are here, you bring, but you must package, you must do distribution, break the bulk, etc., etc. But do you find pride to find your brand floating in that? The manufacturers, your tires, first tire, second, also as consumers, how do we feel when we find such? The other one is NITA, is transporting, and it is in bulk. Can we consider such? Can we avoid what is down? These are all products that we are creating awareness, remember. So, downstream, we also consume and dispose. That is the impact. How do we feel? How do we feel if we see our brand? I don't know, those bottles are from which brand? The ICT sector, our regulators must be also watching, and the blame sometimes goes to us as Kcca. What do we need to do, the downstream part or segment of the supply chain. Our role is we have to trigger the purchasing power towards sustainable products, sustainable practices, so that we influence what comes from the upstream. I will take you through on how Kcca, for example, we are trying to put some of the initiatives through the procurement process. Move it. You know the procurement process takes the cycle of planning, initiation, and all those. So what are we doing? We must cut across all stages of the procurement cycle. We shall not jump scoping the project while considering sustainability, and we think we can implement it at implementation of the project. No. When we are planning, scoping, we must put the 3 pillars of sustainability in consideration: the society, the environment, eco, and the profit. So if we don't consider that, that is how we now make mistakes. So what do we do? From planning, budgeting, development of our statement of requirements, bidding documents. Of recent, we've been making bidders lose on ESHS conditions, and they want to challenge. But it is a mandatory condition. Be aware, going forward, consider those as a critical compliance requirement. So you take it through evaluation, you go through contract implementation. Most of our projects now have social experts, environmental experts, and the reason is not about compliance alone. It's to ensure that we uphold the principle of sustainability and we preserve the ecosystem. So, what have we done? With development partners, these are happening. I think my colleagues and others that are in procurement and project implementation and our contractors are aware that we integrate environmental and social management into project scoping. Then we integrate ESH code and controls and codes. We scope some of the project to benefit the vulnerable groups, workspaces, and capacity building. These are happening. That's why we are making a call to other agencies that have not done this. Let's start doing that. We take it through evaluation and contract implementation. So how about in consultancies? This is also looked at, but sometimes when we are reviewing, when this information is not to many people, people will question, why do you take this to be a serious condition when it can be discussed? No, if it has been issued in a bidding document, you must comply. And if we don't, and if we let it just be treated like that, that's how we continue losing our environmental aspects. As if it has plan B. Sorry for that. I actually wanted to display some of the initiatives we've done in like shifting biodiversity during our project implementation. I had some pictorials where how we manage dust, how we manage or provide for workers on our projects, but the technology has let us down. Also, to inform you that Kcca in particular in its infrastructure, while scoping, we've created for non-motorized spaces to encourage walking, cycling, and all those. And all those have to come as we prepare our projects. Allow me give my colleague from public health to also showcase other initiatives that Kcca is doing within the procurement process and outside the procurement process. Doctor, you are welcome.
Thank you, my senior colleague, Doreen. Unfortunately, the presentation is more pictorial-based, so it's going to be a bit difficult. But given they are unable to project, I'll proceed. Our Kcca has initiatives towards conserving the ecosystem. But my main question is, why bother? Why should you bother? Why should Kcca bother conserving the environment? And I will begin by looking at the One Health approach, that man interacts with the with animals in the environment. So if you do not have healthy animals and a healthy environment, you cannot have a healthy man. So whatever we do it in the environment, and it must be yeah, so I was saying that man interacts with animals in a healthy environment. So if you don't have a healthy environment and healthy animals, you're wasting time having a healthy man. In short, what I'm trying to say is that if you don't care about the environment cares about you. So what is sustainability? Sustainability means meeting the needs of the present, without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Again, environment cares about you if you don't care about it. And we have a framework by UN, the Sustainable Development Goals, which is a framework for helping all development countries. We have over 140 development countries, including Uganda, to meet their development needs without compromising the ability of future generations from meeting their own needs. We need to understand that there are man-made pressures, including air pollution, water-related issues, and these could be flooding, drought, too little water or too much water. You just need water in the normal quantities. If it is too little, it's a problem. If it's too much, it's a problem. And 75% of conditions that kill human beings in Uganda are related to water. Either too much, too low, too dirty, too something, but related to water. Rainfall, which is about timing, seasons, too little, too much, storms, and anything related. And then heat, that Doreen talked about, as well as global warming, where now we cook the entire world. I'll come to how we are cooking Kampala on the streets in the evening. Next slide. Next slide. I'm looking at the pressures. Go back. I'm looking at the pressures that we are applying, are being applied on the environment, and then the effects. These pressures that result from rapid urbanization. Urbanized definitely. I think Uganda is urbanizing at about 25%. Industrialization. As we watch the Vision 2040, industrialization is unavoidable. Rapid traffic growth, rapid population growth, infrastructure development, increased demand on almost everything, with the effects that I have captured on the right, including wetland encroachment, because space doesn't seem enough for man, air pollution, flooding, water pollution, emerging and re-emerging diseases. This is how we end up with things like COVID, monkeypox, because we want to live with monkeys since there is nowhere to live, destruction of green spaces in the city. But man, including supplier and you and me, can be effect modifiers in the middle if we adopt cleaner production, green mobility, sustainable resource use, energy efficiency, we can modify how these pressures present the effects. Do we have evidence that actually the ecosystem is facing pressure? Yes. This is a dashboard for the air pollution monitoring network in Kampala. And the colors are easy to interpret. They are similar to colors on the traffic lights which we have all seen. Green and yellow are good, red, orange, and the other colors are bad. On a typical day, this is what you will have in most places in Kampala. Now, at this point, I think I need to let everyone know that for Kampala alone, air pollution attributable mortality is 20%. We have 20% premature death as a result of air pollution. I also need to remind you that while you can buy a bottle of clean water, you will not be able to buy a bottle of clean air. So we either clean the air together or we breathe dirty air and we fall sick. Next slide. We also have evidence that the nature is complaining about heat. You had everyone complaining about heat in their homes, on the streets, everywhere. These used to be rare things for the tropical countries. We have indirect and direct impacts of heat, including what it can cause to your body. Next slide. Did you also know that in 2024, Africa had its warmest July ever since world record started in 1850? 2024 July was the hottest month that the world has ever recorded. But importantly also, Jan to July of the same year was the hottest Jan to July segment that mankind has ever experienced since 1850. By 2050, 4% of the global GDP, for those who understand money very well, will be lost to just heat. And another 6% will be lost to air pollution. 6% of the world GDP, to put it in context, is the same as GDP of France and Japan combined, lost to something that can be prevented. But wait a minute. Did you know that leaf neighborhoods can be 5 degrees cooler than the ones that have no trees around? And of course, important is that 93% of the workforce in Africa, okay, say in Kampala, is exposed to heat. Next. We have evidence that the marked hazards facing this city of Kampala are largely man-made. I want to draw your attention to the red color, where you have acute watery diarrhea and cholera. Those are water-related. You have flooding, you have air pollution, you have transportation accidents. These are health disasters facing every resident of Kampala on a daily basis, and they are man-made. Next. Kcca has some initiatives towards this. It's not sleeping. The first one is equitable health care to address vulnerability when we are responding to outbreaks, taking care of vulnerable populations, those socially marginalized, street children, but also provision of free, accessible, and emergency health care to the population of Kampala. In the pictures, you can see that the first picture at the top on the left is where one of our health centers yesterday emerged the best health center in the country. With all the pressures it has, with few health workers, it performs at the level of a district hospital. We have green mobility, non-motorized corridor where we are working, and I know that the engineering directorate is working hard. Next slide. Where the engineering directorate is working hard to expand this. I am informed in the next 5 years, there is going to be more walking. We are all aware that over 50% of our population in the city actually uses walking as the main means of transport within the city. In addition, you are aware of the traffic control center, the now signalized junctions that are more automated. And most of you must have observed that there is no redundant green. You can go and watch most of our junctions. If you see a green and cars are not moving in that direction, then you know that there is a problem. Green is always put to use. There is no redundant green and red stopping cars. Next slide. There's active mobility that has multiple benefits that the Engineering and Public Health Directorate have been championing. In this picture, you can see the ED launching one of the rides in Makindye Division before the City Festival. And up on the right is the Engineering Director who has been riding every month. We ride every last Friday of the month. We have also now added walking for those who cannot ride. And the aim is to reduce pollution, showcase that these are alternative forms of transport, but importantly, be physically active. Greening. Since you cannot have a lot of land in one place to do forests, we've started with microforests, green spaces, and they are planned urban forests. And again, here there are multiple benefits that we all know. In air quality management, we are raising your awareness. We are saying that when you point a finger at Kcca to manage air pollution on the streets, the 4 fingers point at you, asking you to manage the air pollution in your home, in your kitchen, in your car. What are you doing to your car? Which means of transport are you using? Are you transforming into electric? Are you using electricity to cook at home? And we are saying don't burn rubbish. Kcca does not burn rubbish out there. It has hired trucks. It has put contractors, it has put a mechanism for us to take your waste. So don't prefer to burn it. On the extreme right, we are showing you the control of road dust. We are aware that we have to develop, we have to work on the roads, we have to construct, but we have to do that sustainably by managing the dust. Waste, we are promoting the 5 R's, but the best one I want to go with in your home, in your office, on the street, at your workplace, in your business, in your company, sorting the waste. When you bring for me a placenta in the same container with banana peelings, with grasses and bottles, what do you want me to do? How do you want me to sort a human finger from other biodegradable waste? What do you want me to do with a computer battery that you have put in a Kcca and added plastics? You point a finger at us, 4 fingers point at you. Let's sort waste, reuse it, repurpose it, recycle it, reduce it, even refuse it. Sometimes they are parking for when it's not necessary. Your car is just close by. Put your things in your car and go home. You don't have to have it packed if it doesn't have to be packed. Suppliers, not everything has to be packed in a Kcca and brought to us. Why are we bringing hooves and other things to the city? But also recycling. Move to next. We have other measures I don't want to take a lot of time on, like protecting and restoring wetlands together with NEMA, mitigating climate change with so many other innovations, sustainable energy use. And just here, I am showing you just men at work. The most interesting one is the one in the top middle, where we are relocating those birds. They're not supposed to be killed. We're taking them somewhere because certainly their tree was going to be removed for construction. Another tree put in that place. But a young tree cannot help them. They need a mature tree. Next. Finally, Doreen, you can come and give some ideas. Thank you.
This was for both of us. Thank you. What are we saying? Why are we here? Our objective, one of them, was to create awareness, also to indicate the opportunities that we have to work together and conserve our ecosystem. So we are saying, can we share best practices? What is done at Kcca? Can we escalate it to you, our immediate suppliers? How do you handle waste, for example? How do you source? For you, what you use in your offices, how about when you go back home? Can you trigger a supplier, your supplier, to trigger his supplier and go sustainability is what we are saying. Bring the next slide. So we are saying, as Kcca and government at large, by the way, Kcca is pioneering sustainable procurement implementation. So most of them are running from us. We are going to go sustainable sourcing. When we put that criteria and you don't meet it, we shall not award you contracts. So read these things, understand them, be aware that this is the way forward when we are procuring. That's what we mean, sustainable sourcing. Then circular economy. Can we promote recycling? Can we package our things in items or packages that can be reused? Or can we reduce? Or can be biodegradable? Renewable energy adoption. Most of our roads, our contractors, you are well witness that now we go solar mainly. That is the way we are going green. Green logistics, transporters. Can we now real oils? We go electrical. We have some of our, actually the buses, one we've procured is an electrical bus. We have electrical bicycles. We are testing this technology to ensure that at least let's begin the journey and we see whether we can break through with these initiatives. Then product design for sustainability. Now that the economy is telling us, leave the old technology, can we adopt? Future sourcing will only point to green compliance. That is, items that protect the environment, that take care of society, and they can make profits. We look at total life cycle costing. So fair labor practices, members, we have a lot of unemployment. At Kcca, we've decided to scope some of this work, what we have, what is budgeted for, and we dedicate it to the urban poor. And I think I don't want to preempt some communication, but we have testimonies in this room. Then digitalization, let's be real. We are working, we are calling upon you to join hands along the supply chain, not to work in silos. Let's work together and we protect our environment. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is not enough for Doreen and Alex. Another huge round of applause for Alex and Doreen. I think they have emphasized their points very clearly, and I don't need to go through their presentations again. But just in case you're surprised by the heat outside, I think it is the environment reminding us that the supply chain matters. So it's very important in each and everything that you do, reuse, recycle. For me, Dr. Alex said, refuse. Every small thing, package for me, package for me. The lady from the, was it Aqua? Thank you very much. The people did not recognize it, but I heard you say you are the pioneers of bottled water. And I think that stands out really. A huge round of applause for the lady from Aqua. Thank you very much. Because you see these plastics here? If we were downtown, we would have people already intervening, trying to pick these bottles. What happens if we have those bottles that we can reuse? We have spent quite some time, and I don't want to waste any more time. I would like to invite the Deputy Director, ICT, Madame Monica Nyakaisiki. But just before she does, we are in the middle of greatness, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to recognize the presence of the Executive Director, Kcca, Hajat Sharifa Buzechi. Thank you very much for joining us. We waited for you since morning, and we are glad you have actually come to join us. So ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Monica Nyakaisiki to say a word to us, and she will proceed with a small assignment that I am made to give her.
The Executive Director, Kampala Capital City Authority, allow me to stand on the protocol that is already observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. My name is Monica Rose Nyakaisiki. I work with Kcca as the Deputy Director, Information Systems. I'm highly honored to stand before you as the Chairperson Organizing Committee for the Kcca Supplier'S Conference of 2025. I was assigned a role to work with very powerful ladies and gentlemen, and at this point, I want to request that we honor them for the work they have done to put this conference together and for taking care of us. Committee members, please stand up for recognition. As you can see, they are looking alike. I would like to request the entire team that has been supporting this committee to stand up so that we recognize your efforts. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Ours was to put together this assignment, and I believe we have delivered. And Madam Edie, I would like to thank the Kcca executive leadership, the partners who are here, our dear suppliers, for honoring our invitation and accepting to spend this time together. And I believe we are going to exchange ideas on how we can make Kampala a better and livable and sustainable city. I take this singular honor to invite the Executive Director to give her welcome and opening remarks for this conference. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, the Executive Director, UNBS, the Deputy Executive Director, Kcca, of agencies present, our development partners, the organizing committee for this conference, heads of directorates in Kcca, our service providers, all stakeholders present, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 5th Kcca Supplier'S Conference. Have joined us on all the 5, and others are coming here for the first time. But we treasure the time you have put aside to join us today. It is a true reflection of what you think about sustainable procurement and your commitment to building a vibrant, attractive, livable, and sustainable city. In this year's conference, our theme is Sustainable Supply Chain Management for Ecosystem Conservation. This theme speaks to the urgent need for us to integrate sustainability in every aspect of our operations and partnerships. Around the world, we are all aware, and even in Uganda, it's evident that we are facing environmental degradation. The effects of climate change are today, and we are also facing biodiversity loss. The message is clear to all of us. We don't need anyone to come to us to overemphasize this. So sustainable supply chain management is no longer optional. We should be deliberate and invest in it because it is now essential. So what does this mean to us? It means that in every stage of what we do, from sourcing for raw materials, when we are manufacturing, investment in transport, storage, or delivery of goods and services, we must be able to make decisions that will protect our ecosystem. We must reduce the environmental impact and improve the well-being of the people of Uganda and the world over. When we do this, it's not only for purposes of having efficiency, or it's about what we are calling responsibility. And the responsibility rests on all of us in various aspects. I will only pick three which I would like to talk to. One is our responsibility to the environment. We need to protect every tree, every wetland, our waterways, our parks, our green spaces, while reducing waste and emissions. Various speakers have talked about the issue of waste. They have talked about emissions, so I cannot overemphasize this. Our social responsibility bestows on us the role of ensuring safety, inclusion, and opportunities for workers, for youth, for women, vulnerable groups, and disadvantaged men who are usually forgotten. Economically, we need to deliver quality goods. We need to offer services efficiently while creating jobs and supporting the local businesses. Here, we are not yet near the truth. We are limited in workspaces. We are limited in safe workspaces. We are limited in our people engaging in viable employment. People are pretending to be working when actually whatever they are doing, they are too busy, but not earning very good proceeds from whatever they are doing. So as a country, as an authority, we need to pay attention to this. At the authority, we need to appreciate where we are coming from in terms of sustainable supply chain management. Last financial year, we managed a total budget of 819 billion. Out of this, 80%, which is equivalent to 660 billion, was executed through procurement. This was not just spending, but it was spending with purpose. 189 billion was support from government of Uganda and off-budget projects. 264 billion went to Kampala City Roads Rehabilitation Project, and 207 billion funded the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area Urban Development Projects. Across the procurement categories, we managed to deliver 515 billion in terms of works, 40 billion in supplies, and 45 billion in non-consultant services. We also had 60 billion in consultancy services. These investments reflect our commitment to sustainable systems, safe workspaces, and greener urban development. Work safety at Kcca is at the center of every project we undertake. Whether it is in relation to construction of roads, buildings, ICT, or logistics, we hold it in high. This means that when we are dealing with it, we should be able to invest in training, we should provide protective equipment, we should have strict enforcement of the safety standards. No project will be successful if people from the onset know that they are going to be injured. So those are the safeguards we need to put in place, because safety for any one of us is not negotiable. Sustainable procurement chains also create opportunities to build skills and empower the youth. We are doing this on construction sites, ICT internship, logistic training, to be able to prepare the next generation to manage sustainable city and the economy. At the same time, every contract must safeguard women, girls. It should have inclusive workspaces. It should have equal opportunities. And equal opportunities here, I'm not meaning women and girls. As we said, and as we agree all of us, we still have disadvantaged men, we have disadvantaged boys, and that's why if you do statistics If you went to, currently, if you go to teacher training institutions, for those, you will find that the intake of boys is low. The question is, who is going to be the senior man teacher in that school? Who is going to talk to boys about boy things? We are going to bring up very responsible women, upright, marriage materials, and then they meet men who do not match. So, when we talk about this, it is real. So we are saying we should be able to empower the different groups equally across manufacturing, transport, logistics, and ICT roles. Inclusion extends to vulnerable populations, those which are economically disadvantaged, the socially marginalized, and inclusive supply chains provide jobs, training, meaningful participation. At Kcca, we practice all this through initiatives such as the community circle 7 Hills, where we have the reservation skills. We have involved these people in cleaning up, in desilting our drainages and all those other forms of employment where we know that their skills can be accommodated. Environmental protection is another critical pillar. As suppliers and contractors, you must make sure that you minimize harm at every stage. You should use low carbon and locally sourced materials. You should invest in recycling construction waste. You should invest in protecting our wetlands, our trees. We should reduce dust, pollution in general, and emissions. Energy efficiency and IT systems are also equally vital in procurement. The technologies we use must be able to reduce electricity consumption, carbon footprint. Warehouses, storage facilities, and fleets must adopt to energy-saving practices. I am glad that the border industry, which we have for all long sung to be contributing to pollution in the city, they are now going for electric bikes. We should be able to adopt that in all other things we are doing. At Kcca, procurement is at the front line of sustainable and people-centered approach. It's at the front line for sustainable and people-centered practices. We will prioritize, and we are prioritizing now, low carbon materials. We are going to embed environmental safeguards in our tenders. We are going to enforce work safety. We are going to provide opportunities for the youth, for the women, and all the vulnerable groups. Our commitment to sustainable procurement continues in the current financial year and the years to come. For this year, our total budget is 952. I already informed you when we are coming to the close of last financial year that the government of Uganda increased the budget for Kcca. So for this year, we are looking at 952 billion with 802 billion, which is 84%, planned to be executed through procurement. Our procurement plan includes 483 billion in terms of works, 25 billion in terms of supplies, 219 billion in terms of consultant services, and 75 billion in terms of, the other one was non-consultancy, and 75 is in terms of consultancy. Why am I giving you these figures? We invited suppliers, we invited contractors, whoever wants to work with us. For us, we are transparent. The information is here. You know what you can look for from Kcca. So this is a practice which we intend to keep, because we know that you are now aware of what is available for you in Kcca and how we want to do it. Come to us if you know you can only invest in sustainable procurement. Our projects demonstrate these practices we have talked about in action. For instance, the Kampala City Roads Rehabilitation Project integrates flood resilience drainage, cycling lanes, tree planting, recycling of construction waste, and providing for safe workplaces. The Kcca project also ensures wetland protection, natural-based flood control systems, energy-efficient ICT systems, and modern waste management. I encourage all of us here to reflect on how we can protect our ecosystem while keeping people safe, empowering youth, women, vulnerable groups, including disadvantaged men, reduce emissions, and energy use. This will help us to deliver goods efficiently while promoting inclusion and sustainability. Back to this conference, it is a platform. You have been invited to share good practices, to innovate, to tell us how best we can improve on our procurements. I want to echo that if we are to be sustainable in whatever we are doing, we need to be champions of sustainability. We need to be defenders of people's well-being. As I said, every tree, every safe workplace, every empowered youth, every responsible person built, every responsibly sourced material counts in all our processes. Remember, this is not just going to be a practice, it is part of the law. The PPDA Act, Section 61A, requires all procurement entities to integrate environmental protection, social inclusion, innovation into every decision. So it is our shared responsibility, and at Kcca, for us, we are committed to deliver a livable city. We are now calling upon you to join us in this cause. Thank you so much for coming. I wish you a productive, inspiring, and transformative conference.
Another round of applause for the Executive Director. Thank you very much, Executive Director, for such wonderful opening remarks for this session. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, we're going to have our panel discussion, and allow me to welcome the moderator for this session, Mr. Daniel Nuawine, to come and moderate the second session, which is going to be the panel discussion, and also invite our panel up here to come and take up their seats. Daniel. Yes, he's coming.
Okay, you didn't clap when I was coming. Thank you, Edie, and thank you all for making it here today. I am going to take on one of the most interesting sessions. I've seen people asking others questions. I've been asked questions. Now it is my turn to ask them questions, but this time on a noble cause. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me call our first panelist. The one who is going to ask questions is Nwabine Daniel, Head Public and Corporate Affairs, and is already here. A round of applause. Now, it is my pleasure to invite our Deputy Executive Director. I'm going to put this down. And this is a man of poetic significance. He's a poet, that one we know. He also sings sometimes in the office. And he will find a rhyme for anything while doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman has witnessed procurement, and he has been. Yes, I've also been told another specialty that he has. So he has witnessed procurement firsthand. He has been on tender boards. For those of you who remember tender boards, huh? Before this procurement thing came in, we had the district tender boards. He was a tender board secretary for Ginger District. He has also been a contracts manager for several contracts. He has supervised so many procurements, and in his last posting as Under Secretary at the Ministry of East African Community Affairs, he has been in the Ministry of Public Service. He has been labor and social development. He has seen money being spent. He is none other than Benon Chigenyi. We need a song for Benon. Ah. You may take the first one, sir. Now, you did time the music well. You should have timed that when you were sitting. The other one is equally serious. You know, this is the time when you get to use people's CVs and use them to tune or to suit the audience. This one is a doctor, a real doctor. In science and technology, he's an ISO, he's an ARSO council member. He's a man who did sciences, so in this generation, he's a highly paid man, very highly paid for those who know scientists. And his specialty is in telecommunication and business administration. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an executive director, and he's the executive director of Uganda National Bureau of Standards, Dr. Jemgwa. And he's in good shape too. Please clap for that. Our next panelist, this time we are spicing up things, huh? Is a certified practitioner with over 10 years of experience, a decade of experience in procurement. She's also certified in sustainable procurement, and is a member, or she was certified by the CIPS, that is Certified Institute of Procurement Suppliers, UK. And she's a lady. She's Catherine Natkunda, who is the manager, procurement and disposal. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a gentleman who is skilled in engineering and communication infrastructure and leads the same. He deals with the newest kind of waste. You know, we are used to cabbages. Dr. Sarah and Dr. Alex here were talking of waste of cabbages, placentas, fingers, but this is real waste that comes out of these digital things that we do. And he's in the Uganda Communications Commission. He's the Director Engineering and Communication Infrastructure Engineer Bogere Joseph Alfred.
SARS. Yeah. I get money like
come to our best friend, Nema, from the National Environmental Management Authority. He's in the Department of Environmental Compliance. He's an environmental and social safeguard specialist, and he works, or his specialty is in environment and natural resource management. Welcome, Francis Ogwang, the Senior Environment Assessment Officer. And finally, one of the most energetic men I know, he used to have hair and he reduced it. He now has short hair, but he's a doctor, a medical doctor. He studied those hard things, the sciences where they earn a lot of money, but you never see it on them. Eh? Ladies and gentlemen, I have Dr. Alex Ndiabachira, an epidemiologist. You have changed him. I wanted him. I think you can see Dr. Msenze. Okay. They have changed you, Dr. Alex. But you see, Doreen still has the capacity to slay and come across. So, Dr. Msenze from the Engineering Association, he is a doctor of engineering. You know engineering? These contractors who take a lot of money. He's a doctor in that field. Dr. Msenze from the Engineering Association, please come and take center stage. Now it's time to radiate with intelligence. Huh? This is one of those sessions that we love most. We are here for sustainable supply chain management for ecosystem conservation. Now this is one of those topics that rarely make it to the third minute of your phone interaction unless they come with the spiced up dressing or music, but it's one of those topics that are critical to us. Dr. Alex said that you can buy a bottle of water, but you can't buy a bottle of air if you are attentive. Kcca is at the center of all this, and we probably, after the Ministry of Works, have a formidable budget that we spend. The executive director mentioned that we spend over 80% of our budget in procurables. I am coming to you, Bwana DED. Would like you to highlight for us some of the initiatives Kcca has undertaken to conserve and restore Kampala's ecosystem. We have seen many interventions, but we want to hear it from you because you are at the center of all this. What has Kcca done to restore, to conserve wetlands, green spaces, and our tree cover, and how far have you gone with these efforts? DED.
Thank you very much, dear moderator, and our guests to this year's Supplier'S conference. You're most welcome. And to speak about what Kcca is doing about this subject is a nice challenge because not many times people see the things that we do. But it's an opportunity for us to beat our chests, but also to share and inform you what it is that we do every day. To begin with, I must tell the Kampalans and the Ugandans who are watching live this session that we have 12.2 square kilometers of Kampala under wetlands and 17.1 square kilometers on the waterfront of the Lake Victoria. And therefore, to mind these ecologically fragile areas in the way we manage our procurements, in the way we invest, is a very critical issue. But you also heard from Dr. Kcca saying that we have heard in the recent past the hottest January-July season in the whole of the recorded histories of temperatures and all. What does it mean for Kampala? To be cautious, to imagine a Kampala that is indeed viable and sustainable. The only way to make it a dynamic Kampala is to allow ourselves to be in an environment that is responsive and supporting of us. So we've had to have an urban greening approach, beginning with ensuring that we have a non-motorized transport corridor within Kampala to allow the people to walk, to see, and enjoy the beauty that there can be in this town. And this has been around for the last 4 or so years. Sometimes when this is flashed, people wonder and say, is that in Kampala? Yes, we have an area that is dedicated to people that can walk and ride, a place where you have an opportunity to breathe life. And in knowing that we cannot have the NMT everywhere, we have also encouraged an urban greening approach. One of the things that people don't like the Kampala Capital City Authority enforcement brigades is when they come out to enforce the greening culture and picking those people who sit in our greens, who walk through our greens, who do merchandising in our greens. But we also have an issue of management of our fragile economic zone by focusing on the wetlands and how our Kampala breathes. On a good rainy day, Kampala could flood. And I know that this picture is poignant in many of you at the tail end of October, beginning of November. We have a plan, a Kampala City Drainage Master Plan that is valued at $200 million that aims at management of our areas to ensure that we can have people free of floods. But we're also looking at wetlands management. In the space of physical planning, one of the things that is always critically looked at is the issue of where are you placing your infrastructure. And we do this by superimposing everything to a wetland map. And every time somebody falls into the wetland map, unless it be vanquished, that plan cannot be approved. And by doing this, we're able to keep our wetlands managed very well. But we're also encouraging the circular economy. Dr. Alex spoke about the 5 R's, and I like the R for refusing. One of the ways I have personally managed not to have impulsive buying, for example, is to make sure that when I enter a shopping facility, I do not accept a trolley, or I do not accept to buy things that will go over my hands. That way, I make sure that what I buy, I can carry within my hands. If you give me a poly bag, I'll quickly tell you, I am not taking it. And we are encouraging many of the malls to begin an approach of saving our environment by reducing the giving of polybags. And the one area where Kampalans have an issue with our environment is about our garbage. We produce a lot of garbage, about 2,500 metric tons of garbage daily. And only 60% of this is evacuated out of the city. Most of this garbage ends up in ecologically fragile spaces. Most of this garbage comes to Kampala as complements to our food facilities. The vines, the leaves we don't need, and the feathers we do not eat, and they have affected our environment. What are we doing? One, we have encouraged people who are doing farming to take organic material directly from the markets into their gardens. We have also encouraged a process of bringing to truck. You do not just go and create a dump, but when the truck timings are known, schedules are known, we share, and then when it comes, people come and put onto the truck, and the truck leaves. That way we leave no garbage within our areas, that garbage which could end up in our drainages, that garbage which could end up in our wetland space. Thank you.
Thank you. And he's at the top of the approval processes. So please listen very, very carefully. Eh? If you want your plan approved, he's the chairman of that as well. Dr. Kcca, I'm sorry. You do the certification, you do the standards, and so many people are eager to know, how do you fit in all this? How can we fit in all that Kcca is doing, in having the ecosystem that fits within the restoration, within having our environment protected? The question here is, how can UNBS, how is it strengthening the regulatory frameworks and certification processes, especially the processes, to ensure that suppliers consistently meet national quality and safety standards in goods, works, and services delivered, not just at Kcca, but in our country as a whole?
Thank you very much, moderator. And good afternoon. Yes, James Kcca is my name. I work with the Uganda National Bureau of Standards. And to respond to that question on what we are doing to ensure regulatory compliance, I will need to highlight what UNBS does, what our mandate is, but in line with the theme of ensuring sustainable supply chains. Now, allow me, sustainability has been described, definitely, to make sure that we meet our needs without compromising the needs of the future. But there are three pillars, like it was highlighted: the issue of the economics, the social, and the environmental aspects. Now, UNBS has a mandate that is so critical to the development of this economy, to the sustainability of the enterprises, and up to the individual level. Because UNBS is in the business of developing, promoting, and enforcing quality and safety standards for the public health and environment. That's one aspect. The second aspect is that we ensure fair trade. Fair trade to the extent of the product you're buying, the service you're buying, is it fit for purpose? And is there value for money? You buy a product, before you reach home, it's worn out. And there we are talking about quality and standards. Consumer protection from consuming substandard and dangerous what? Goods, which will impact our health, our environment. The materials that we are using to pack these products, we are talking about Kcca, but it's a whole value chain of packaging materials. Then our other aspect of our mandate as UNBS is the effectiveness of our local industries. And when I had the theme, thank you Kcca, the theme of suppliers, definitely suppliers are enterprises, I want to believe, from micro, small, medium to large enterprises. So I thought it very important that as UNBS we participate, but also share with you what we are doing to ensure sustainability. Starting with the end in mind, UNBS is now, we are starting a new strategic, 5-year strategic plan to align ourselves with the national development frameworks, where at the national level, we are starting NDP 4, and we want to grow the economy tenfold, from 50 billion US dollars to 500 billion US dollars. So as UNBS, our numbers and the business we've been doing shows us that we've been in a business of growing quality enterprises. So as UNBS, now we are saying over the next 5 years, we are going to be growing quality enterprises. Quality is a very interesting word. It accommodates what we are talking about today: sustainability, social responsibility, ethical production, efficiency. All that can be combined in one word: quality. So when you see UNBS, when you hear UNBS, it's about growing quality enterprises. And let me tell you numbers. The numbers don't lie. Any big enterprise worth their name in Uganda has actually worked with UNBS. I don't want to mention them, but you name them, we've worked with them. We've seen them grow from small enterprises to micro. A few numbers: 6 years ago, UNBS was working with only 200, certifying 200 enterprises on an annual basis. Just last year, 24-25, UNBS certified 1,777 SMEs. That's a huge leap in 5 years. Now let me tell you, how do we ensure sustainability in the entire supply chains? And by the way, for the suppliers, when we talk about quality enterprises, we are meaning global, at the global level, not just at the national level. When we work with you as an enterprise, as a supplier, we give you the quality mark. Be rest assured it is recognized beyond the national borders. And you have the ability, for example, today when you certify with the Q mark, not only to supply Kcca, but also the entire market of East Africa, quota-free, duty-free, just simply because you've worked with UNBS. The quality of your product or service is certified. Fast forward, on the 3-pillar triangle of sustainability, on the economics. If you're an enterprise in Uganda, you know the mortality rate of what? Of enterprises in Uganda. 70% of enterprises in Uganda don't see their 10th what? Birthday. Us on the downstream or on the demand side, that's not sustainable. To be working with an enterprise that might not see the next what? 5 years birthday. So when we work with us, it's proven we support business enterprises to grow beyond even the national what? Borders. So that informs our new value proposition of growing quality enterprises. The other aspect why this is very important, thanks to our landlords, Kcca, at a personal level, I'd already said it. I live in Kampala. It's a huge population growing very fast. But also, we are not growing any younger. If we have to live healthy, longer lives, we need a social infrastructure that supports us to really thrive. So there is a big, tall order on us regulators, government regulators, sustainability, so that we can actually live longer, enjoy our environment. And this is where also quality standards come in. I talked earlier largely about product certification, but also enterprises like Kcca, PPDA, UCC, name them, especially these who are sitting on this side. I want to challenge ourselves as regulators. We need to embrace what we call quality management what? Systems. There are these certifications called ISO 9001, for example. This allows you to be efficient, accountable, consistent in the service that we deliver. We have agencies of government that have started appreciating these quality management systems. So I want to challenge Kcca. I can tell you at the scale and magnitude of the mandate of Kcca, you cannot become efficient without having your processes, systems, ISO certified. ISO is a global certification, but UNBS and standardization, which we champion at the national level, it is hierarchical. We have UNBS at the national level. We have ESC Standards Committee at the East African Community. We have ASO. ASO is the African Regional Standardization Organization. That is at the African continental level. And at the global level, we have ISO, International Organization for Standardization. And other. Now, that whole framework of standardization is intertwined. And the standards developed at the international level are adopted at the national levels. So standards, which we do, aims to answer one critical question. What is the best way to do this? Whether you're in business, whether you're in service delivery, the question is, what is the best way to do this? When talking about quality management system, I talked about ISO 9001. There is ISO 14001, which is about environmental management. So if we want to, I saw SHS in the presentation from Kcca. All that is included in ISO 14001. We have other standards like 45,001, which is to do with, they are telling me time, but moderator, I will want to run away shortly, so you will allow me a little more so that I don't come back actually. Thank you very much. There is the occupational health and safety. Recently we launched the biodiversity standard in Kigali, and there is a misconception that we need to break, thinking that we can only make money by degrading the environment. That's not true. We can actually sustainably, and this is in the standards that we develop. Now, how does it benefit the supplier to participate in standards development? I told you that global arrangement in standardization. So if you participate, you actually leapfrog to operate at the international level. So you do not, you save time, you don't make unnecessary mistakes, and the product and services become international. The second issue I want to talk about is certification. Certification, we certify both for products and services. Now, there are what we call eco-certification. Eco-certification. We have, at the ASO level now, we have eco-mark. When your product has an eco-mark, it means that it meets all the requirements of sustainability. So I will want to engage with government and institutions like Kcca to procure and give preferential treatment with products that actually have the eco mark. And requiring that government buys from certified companies. I want to thank PPDA. Last year, we came up with a guidance on regulation of procurements. And now we started with grains and grain products. Now, no supplier of grain and grain products can supply government, any PDE, procurement disposal entity, without a UNBS certification. I love posho. But every time I look at the posho, it looks at me. I'm thinking that there are iron filings in this Now I must know and see that this posho has a quality mark from UNBS. Anyone who is producing and certified in grain and grain products have their processes certified to make sure that their product is safe for human consumption. At home, when I buy a packet and it's certified, I enjoy my posho because I am sure of the processes. So thanks PPDA, I will want to work with PPDA and all institutions of government that we begin demanding that we buy from eco-certified products. The other thing is what I want to say about procurements and sustainable procurements. We also have testing laboratories. At UNBS, we have the national test laboratories. Now, because we certify products and processes, government institutions, before procuring, they send so that we test them for safety, quality. And now we will even involve testing their processes to ensure that those processes are we do meteorology, but in this part of the world, when we saw meteorology, people look at the weather. Meteorology is the science of measurements to safeguard, to ensure fair trade. When you take your car for fueling, when you buy 5 liters, you don't worry that you're buying 3.5. That is the science of measurements. When you're producing soft drinks, some elements, if you put a little more, they become poisonous. All that is Without wasting time, 2 other issues. One is, as a bureau, we are saying now we are in the business of growing quality enterprises, and we are looking to create awareness. We are creating the National Quality Institute to make sure that in Uganda, we build a quality culture where both the supplier and the consumer demand for quality. I think we will reach that where everyone, before they buy, they look and require to see a quality mark. If for what we aspire to be a modern economy, actually that is the only difference. I think the difference between developing economies and the developed is that the developed economies embraced and adhered to quality and standards. That's why they leveraged the first and second and third industrial revolutions. Now we are on the 4th industrial revolution. There was a big question, moderator, which I want to finish with, of how should we ensure effective compliance and regulation. Now, there's a man, a wise man, Alvin Toffler, who said that the illiterates of the 21st century will not be those who will not know how to read and write, but those who cannot learn and relearn. Now, regulators who are seated on us, we've been towing one tool. Again, enforcement, regulations, we write, and the law, everything you do, you refer anyone to the what? But I think we are living in a world that is so dynamic. We are now talking about AI. The Gen Zs, actually, technology allows them to bypass what? Those regulations. And I mean, you can know, it started with Uber going against the traditional taxis. Even if you say NEMA, they will do the landfills at night. If you do, so where are we in regulation? In the 1700s, there was very limited regulation to no regulation. Where we are today, there's what I can call, what I want to term as over-regulation, enforcement, command and control, policing. Actually, at UNBS, we've been saying we were like police, but we are changing our approach to hand-holding, to help the SMEs meet the standards and the quality of the products that we want them to meet, but we are not taking away the what? The enforcement what? We will come in when it's necessary, when it crosses the dangerous line. But what is the future of regulation and what can we do? I want to term it as industry self-regulation. Self-regulation where we actually have social learning, innovation, collaboration in actually coming up with workable solutions, not having a one tool solving all the what, like a carpenter. How is that achieved? I want to tell you that is achieved through the process of standardization. Standards are developed through what we call technical committees. And thanks to Kcca, I think you're leading a number of technical committees. Technical committees bring on the table all the stakeholders, the regulator, academia, the consumers, the industrialists, and agree on what to call a standard. Now, when you develop that standard, it becomes the tool the regulator utilizes to do what? To regulate the sector. But remember, there is already awareness, so the acceptability rate will be high, but it does not mean they take away the stick. So now it's balancing both the stick and the carrot. And I want to say compliance is very expensive, and it's part of what's causing the mortality rate of enterprises in Uganda. So I want you call it the downstream, the buyer, to begin crediting and allowing some carrot to the compliant what? Enterprises. So that because we are assured that their processes are sustainable, let us begin making like green clubs. And you know you're a member of the green club as an institution that is buying as a supplier, so that you know government enterprises will give priority to the green club members because they are producing in a sustainable way. My last pitch is that as UNBS, we want to see and build what I call the national quality culture, where every consumer, every producer minds about producing quality. Because I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter what you produce, where you produce it, if it does not meet the quality requirement, even you yourself will find it hard to consume. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. A very big hand clap. I have learned a few things there. You know, I'm always one of those who says that quality can never be compromised. Do everything but not compromise quality. I must attest to the standards that have been ushered in by UNBS. Hajat, you'll forgive me on this one. But when I used to take Waraji, the Waraji without a UNBS mark, when you're swallowing it, you close your eyes and you... Eh? But the Waraji with the UNBS mark, when you swallow it, you have no hangover. Eh? So that is one area. For those of you who understand it, clap your hands. Eh? But also, if you go back to the village, You remember the school uniforms we used to put on? Polyester. Eh? Where the thread count was very low. Whenever you'd iron it, it was coming out of, I think, petroleum. We would iron a square in the back, but when you iron it with a lot of force, the thing would get burnt. But now the clothes that we are wearing, the thread count is on point, and you're all very smart. I think that is part of the standards at importation. And we thank you, ED, for that, and also would want to tell those of us who are here that at Kcca, we have developed, and on 30th September, we launched our service level standards. And in there, we have a quality of a road at Kcca, a quality of medical services at Kcca. We have a quality of the water that you supply to us. We have a quality of everything. So those service level standards can be accessed on our website, and probably, if the accounting office allows, we shall also pursue standardizing them such they are part of the terms of reference with which we use to procure services here. Ladies and gentlemen, PPDA, Catherine, they thanked you here. But you know, one of the places you must go, that 50K, we want to know, and quickly, how are your frameworks promoting environmentally responsible sourcing and procurement processes? How are we fitting in there? And maybe to add to that, what measures have you adopted to reduce waste? I'm adding these questions together to reduce the time we're here, because we must be done with this at 7 minutes past 1. Mark the figure 7. What are you doing to encourage suppliers fit within this framework and guidelines that you've put in place, but also to reduce waste? Waste in everything that we do. In construction, we see a lot of waste there. In manufacturing, there is waste. In supplies, bottles, you find that about 10% of the grams of that bottle you're drinking is going to waste. How are we managing that?
Thank you, moderator, and a good afternoon to all of us. I hope you're still paying attention. The day has moved, and the moderator wants to know what is PPDA doing in relation to the environmental protection, but also in relation to waste reduction and waste management. In the room, I know you are used now to the fact that at PPDA we are serious, we are intentional with our legal framework. The executive director already mentioned that at PPDA we amended our Act 2021, and now what we call the PPDA Act Cap 205, Section 65. If you forget anything else, make sure you remember Section 66 of the PPDA Act for 205. We are saying every procuring and disposing entity must observe the processes of sustainability. Environmental protection is very key, social inclusion is very key, and innovation is very key. So what are we doing to ensure, because now that is the act setting the principles, but then how have we come to bring it down to the entities which are doing this? The entities which are procuring works, the entities which are procuring services, the entities which are procuring the supplies. We have put in place regulations to guide you. We have put in place guiding frameworks. So in the regulations, ladies and gentlemen, we have said any procuring and disposing entity, when they are in the process of obtaining works, for example, as they are preparing the standard bidding documents, which they issue to you, our providers, the area of environmental social management must be given adequate attention. This one I want to emphasize it, that the area of environmental social management must be given adequate attention. That is why for you, the providers in the room, I'm sure I have providers in the works category. May I see the providers in the works category in the room? Thank you very much. Kcca, clap for the providers in the works category. I'm sure they are used to the requirement of having the contractor environmental social management plan, which is embedded in the bid data sheet, which guides you when you're preparing your bidding forms. Now, this is a serious requirement because if the entity environmental social management plan says, you as the contractor who wants to do business with Kcca, show us what your traffic management plan is. What are you going to do to ensure that this, the traffic which is ferrying materials, for example, to the sites is not compromising air quality in terms of pollution? Some of you have followed trucks with materials of aggregates and you wait for it to move a distance. Why? Because it is the material is not covered properly, maybe with tarpaulin. Or if you take this route which goes to Kcca, you've seen this road which is being constructed, and then you're like, what was the contractor's environmental management plan in relation to pollution, in relation to dust control, in relation to dust suppression? So these are mechanisms we have said contractors, make sure you provide these in the contractor's environmental social management plan. What are your measures to control pollution? Contractors, what are your measures to ensure that you manage waste? What are your measures at the site? I heard Dr. Alex in his presentation talking about that separation of the degradable and non-degradable materials. The contractor, you should show us what is your strategy in managing waste. What is your strategy at the end of the day, this debris that you're picking from the site? What is your strategy to ensure that it doesn't end up in the wetlands? Those are the environmental strategies that we are looking at. What is your strategy for water resource protection? This has to come out clearly in the contractor's environmental social management plan. And where is it? This is embedded in the standard bidding document. And when we say prove it, you should actually do what? You have to prove it. Then in your code of ethical conduct, our dear providers, there is that commitment that you have an environmental policy in place, which you're going to observe, which you're going to follow, and you ensure that at the end of the day, if it is in construction, maybe when you've concluded construction, the environment is restored to what it should have been or what you found it to be. This feeling of the borrow pits, which Doreen was talking about, this landscaping and putting it back to order, these are requirements that we are going to have to follow and which are embedded in the standard bidding documents, which PPDA has in place since actually 2019, only that now we have even improved it a bit more. We have our new standard bidding documents for 2025, and we expect the contractors to be in the know. We expect the contractors to know if your contractor environmental social management plan does not measure up, then at evaluation, you will equally not measure up. And if you have a good contractor management plan and you commit to do that, but in contract management, you're actually not doing it, then you are breaching a contract. What does that mean? That you forfeit certain payments. It could be clearance of certain certificates and you don't actually receive that. We had a case of a certain whistleblower who said, but some money has been withheld just because I did not do landscaping. And we are like, but what was the agreement? You have to follow this to the dot. to contract implementation. So that is only in the area of the standard bidding documents and the requirements. At PPDA, we again emphasize to the procuring and disposing entities, Kcca, Ministry of Works, where you're doing business, that they have to be intentional in preparation of the statement of requirements. Ensure that what you want is clearly stated in the statement of requirements. That is where we look at these standards and the quality marks and the environmental marks, the ISO 14001. They have to be embedded in the statement of requirements, so that the provider knows right from the beginning what is actually expected of them. Now, if we know that right from the beginning, then we shall know that we are supposed to do what? To implement it, because if we don't implement it, that is a breach. If we have presented an environmental, social security, then that means it should be cashed, because we are not performing as we had actually done what? As we had promised. Now, the other thing, what we are doing to regulate, to control waste, we have a new guideline, Guideline 3 for 2025, which is on disposal of e-waste. I want to bring this guideline to your attention. E-waste is becoming a challenge. I know, Nema, you're going to talk about that and what we are doing. So as PPDA, we've put in place that guideline for disposal of e-waste. All these the e-waste that we generate from refrigerators and all the other electronic equipment, how is it being disposed of? If it means destruction, we have Captain Celine has gone from NEC. I wanted her to connect with some of you here. Disposal of e-waste has a specialized way it should actually be handled. If we want to protect our environment, we must focus on proper disposal of e-waste. We have some licensed e-waste handlers by NEMA. I think BINIT is one of those. Nabugabo, Updeal, joint ventures should be among those. You have to see who is disposing of e-waste. This is an area as PPDA which we are saying, please control how much effect we have on the environment when it comes to disposal of our waste. But then, as I conclude, there is regulation. We have to abide by the legal framework, yes. But again, we're intensifying capacity building. I want to tell you the truth. Providers, those of you who logged on, and I talked about those for works, even for services, I know you have to be brought on board. I had the cleaning agencies. You have to be brought on board. In your statement of requirement, what are you going to do to ensure that actually we are protecting the environment? If we have this, what is the quality of the soap that you're using? What is the quality of the pesticides that you're using in fumigation? So that if you observe these standards in the way you provide your services, then we know that we are actually focusing on protecting the environment. I want to thank you. I know you work with us as PPDA because together we can actually achieve protection of the environment. 1 minute like this. What we talked about was the environment. I wanted to bring out the social element, but briefly,
we are going
because
to come
we
back.
cannot.
We are going to have a conclusive round.
All right. Yes. Thank you. I stop there, Modi. Thank you very
much.
A
big hand clap. I was told that please, when someone is at the apex of what they are doing, especially when they are doing something very important, never stop them. And I have done that at the risk of breaking protocol. Ladies and gentlemen, let's stand and have the anthems to recognize the presence of the Minister for Kampala Capital City Authority and Metropolitan Affairs, Hajat Minsa Kabanda, omusawo w'ekibuga wa Kampala Central. The anthems. Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future. Praise God. East Africa. Emu osha tujibike Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki tuwezeshe tuishi kwa amani malengo yetu Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuijibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo zetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. We may sit. Clearly, the DJ doesn't have a standard. So you should blacklist that one in the next procurement, unless they do better. Clap for him to get better. Honorable Minister, you're welcome. We are having a panel discussion. We are at this year's Supplier'S conference, where we are discussing sustainable supply chain management for ecosystem conservation. We have panelists from Kcca, UNBS, we have the ED, we have PPDA, we have UCC, Uganda Communications Commission, we have the Uganda Association of Consulting Engineers, and we have NEMA, our next discussant over the next 27 minutes, and who will take 5 minutes of that is from the National Environment Management Authority, who is a very dear friend of ours, now that we are at the front line of waste management in the city, versus our impact on the environment, and that is none other than Francis Guang, who is an environmentalist, and he specializes in environmental social safeguards. Francis, we are together. What are we doing at NEMA to enforce and to have this compliance in the conservation of our ecosystems, and what innovations and collaborations are you undertaking to make sure that we have our ecosystems conserved in the procurement processes, in the works that we're doing, and in the deliberations you do as an authority? 5 minutes.
Coming on. Hello? Hello? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to write on the protocol already in place. As already introduced, I come from the National Environment Management Authority, where we ensure sustainable development. I would like to first of all begin by appreciating Kcca for organizing this engagement to highlight matters that are very dear to us. And I'm very grateful on the choice of the words used here, especially when they talk about ecosystem conservation. They are not talking about ecosystem prevention or preservation, meaning that we are supposed to be using these resources. But the key point here is that we must be using it wisely. That's the underlying point from this theme, that the natural resources that we have must be utilized, but with the underlying word wisely. I would also like to extend my appreciation to the previous speakers, right from the head procurement to the speech from the ED, and then my colleagues. In fact, they have made my work very simple because the issues they have raised are issues that affect the environment. And sometimes when we are talking about this environment, we tend to delineate ourselves from it. We think that we are talking about something that is far. But I want to bring it to us that when we talk about man is at the center of it. I want you to have a self-reflection as you're seated there. Are you part of the problem or are you part of the solution? When I see Amidisas here, when I scan through, I see a mix of Gen Zs and the millennials. Now, matters pertaining environment management, as of now, there are three key problems that the world is experiencing. One of them is climate change. Number two is biodiversity loss. And number three is pollution. These are three key issues that the world is grappling with. And as a supplier, as a transporter, these matters are issues that whatever you're doing is contributing either positively or contributing negatively. I would like to say that there was a study that was done, and it says that every time there's a 1% increase in economic growth, it also translates to about 1.04% in carbon oxide emission. Meaning that every time we are saying we are growing economically, at the same time, almost at the same rate, we are also contributing to the pollution of our environment. The study also goes to say that every time there's an increase in income per capita by 1% to 1.8% in pollution. So you can see that the work that we're doing outside there as a supplier, as a developer, whatever you're doing, it has a direct translation to impacting our environmental aspects either positively or negatively. Supply chain, to me, is not just a mere channel for products and services, but these are drivers that actually have environmental outcomes. And before I go further, I would like to put it this way. If among the many things that from the presenters here, I would like you to go with one thing, that individually, as a company, take these three words: do no harm. Do no harm to the environment. Why? When you look at Section 4 of the National Environment Act, it says that nature has a right to exist. And because nature has a right to exist, whatever you intend to do, please put it at the back of your mind that I do not need to do harm. If you forget any other thing from this session, take that. Now, as our suppliers, as you are sourcing materials, as you are carrying out your daily operations, as you are packaging your products, as you are transporting these items, as you are managing your waste, you need to also put at the back of your mind that whatever you are doing is put together, is accounting for Kampala's ecological footprint. Meaning, if we put together what each company, each factory is doing, then we are able to aggregate to get how Kampala is performing. Already my colleagues have made serious statistics in regard to areas of wetland degradation, I like the presentation from the procurement team. In fact, they did all I should have actually talked about. But just to emphasize that sustainable supply chain, as I speak now, should not be something optional. It is something that must be at the center, like my colleague from PPD has said, at the center of any procurement process. Thank you for the amendment in the law that actually makes it mandatory that for any procurement processes taking place, the environment and social aspect must be at the center of it. Thank you. That is promoting, because you see, in the past, we have had challenges that contractors take environmental aspects as a liability, as reducing on their profits. And therefore, it would never appear on the BOQs, it would never, and once you ask them to remediate the environment, then that would be a challenge. I would like to say a few things before I allow my colleague to take over, is that we expect that every institution must have environment and management systems in place. 2, should have environmental policy in place that drives their institution. But 3, to all our suppliers, there is what we call the mitigation hierarchy. That every time you want to start a project, the impacts can be predicted. And because the impacts can be predicted, it is also possible for you to start by avoiding where possible. And once you have avoided, for example, a key biodiversity area or a wetland, you are already beginning the journey of having a no net loss for our environment. Then we would expect you, if you have avoided, you can as well go an extra mile to minimize. If you have minimized the impact, that is good. But you can go an extra mile that you can restore. You can add something beyond, enrich that environment that you are impacting. And if these all have been done and still there are residual impacts, you can go an extra mile and do what we call offsetting. Offsetting, you are just trying to reach a point where there is no net loss to the environment, but there is a net gain to the environment. And we expect that all our action should be able to contribute to a net gain to the environment. Just one more thing. I know 80 or 70% of us here came way far from the village. But when you came to Kampala, you bought land. And when you bought land, you decided to construct a beautiful house, and then you have paved everywhere. And yet where you came from, you are enjoying a natural environment. Now, I wonder whether the education is making us better or it is making us worse, because our actions are not translating to what we have actually learned. And finally, before I allow my colleague to, if all the suppliers here ensure that before they do their project, they ensure that they have done environment and social impact assessment. Because with this, it is a planning tool. You are able to assess and see whether the actions you are going to take will contribute to what extent to the environment that we cherish very much. And therefore, I appeal to all of you who are here as our dear suppliers, ensure that you have environment and social impact assessment done for your project, but also follow it up with the compliance audit so that you comply to the available conditions and laws of the land. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I had to stay calm for NEMA because I know we are going there next week. Yeah? Now, UCC. And we are going to go. Please note down your questions, because after our engineers have spoken, then we shall pick your questions, and each one shall have 2 minutes to do their final round and respond to your questions as well. So, my colleagues, have the microphones ready. I also have an announcement. PPDA has a form. For those of you who are not yet on the system and who want to do your it's an assessment and questionnaire. How is PPDA serving you? There's a questionnaire going around, and please make use of it to assess them. UCC, we have a new challenge of e-waste. How are you regulating it? How are you engaging with stakeholders? And what is the consumer responsibility? In 5 minutes, please, because we know technology takes very quick.
Okay, thank you so much. I think my colleagues on the podium have spoken about e-waste before. So I will only try to speak to the aspect that UCC is looking at. But before maybe I get to that point, we need to know what e-waste is and why is it a problem today? Why is everybody blaming e-waste? Why are we talking about e-waste? So e-waste generally is any waste that will be generated by electric components or any component that is electronic in nature. So what are those components? There are many. Your ACs for cooling your houses, the fridges, the radio, the TVs, and everything else that uses electricity. So when it's no longer usable, it becomes e-waste. So how are we disposing those ones? I think that's the subject of our discussion today. So the subject of the discussion today is how do we dispose them? Because I'm sure not many of us really know how those are disposed. But what is the picture globally? So normally at the global level, census for e-waste is taken every 10 years. So the last one was taken in 2022, and the statistics came out. So it was established that 62 million tons of e-waste had been generated by then in 2022. So in terms of per capita or per individual, if you divide the 62 million tons to everybody who was living by then in 2022, at least everyone of the living humans by then was responsible for 7.3 kilograms of e-waste generated. And that number is growing exponentially. The next statistics will be taken in the next 10 years. So we might find that the figures are even bigger than that. But why, even when the e-waste is growing, why are we concerned about it? The concern is very simple, that the electronics that we are using today come with hazardous materials in them. I'll give you an example for the communication systems that we regulate. They come with mercury, they come with lead. There's gold that you can, of course, use for recycling in the future. That's what we're promoting. But these hazardous materials, if we do not dispose our e-waste safely, they will end up in our water streams, and they will end up in our food. Lead, for example, is once it gets into your bloodstream, lead is a heavy metal. It is not like malaria that is bacterial. They will give you some antibiotics or they will give you some injection and you will be good to go. Lead does not cure. So that is a sure death if lead goes into your bloodstream. And the same applies to mercury. So mercury can cause cancer, but it can also degrade our environment. It can kill fish in the lakes and so on and so forth. So it is a big problem globally. And I'm happy that Kcca has convened us today to try to share ideas and probably activities that we are doing to mitigate the potential impacts in future. So what is UCC doing and how are we doing it? UCC is working with partners we are piloting waste collection mechanism. The objective of the pilot is really to cultivate a culture of safe disposal of your e-waste. Phone that you no longer need, if you have a TV set that is no longer working, if you have all these other things that are no longer working, ICT related, maybe let me draw the line. Now, e-waste is everything that is electronic and that uses electricity. So when they get to end of life, they become e-waste. But UCC is concerned with ICT waste, ICT, electronic waste, that are related to that. So the other big batch of e-waste, your fridges and AC and everything, I think that's the responsibility of NEMA, but of course we can work with NEMA together to make sure that those are also catered for. The pilot UCC is doing is specific ICT waste. So those are TVs, those are phones, those are tablets, those are computers, anything related to ICT is what we are doing. So we started with the 3 districts, Kampala, Mukono, and Wakiso. We have bins. We have one at UCC House at UCC in Bugolobi, and then we have another one here at Communication House. Then we have bins at the service centers for MTN and UTCL. So we want to cultivate that culture that if you no longer need your phone, make sure that it does not end up in the landfills, because in future, the next 20 to 30 years to come, you don't know what will happen to the future generation, because those hazardous materials will remain there, and when it goes to the streams, consumed by humans and animals, they are dangerous. So the objective of our pilot is really to create public awareness. We want to gather data. We want to gather data on effective way of collecting, disposing, but also recycling, because there could be investors out there who want to invest in recycling, but there's no data, sufficient information, how much e-waste is generated in Uganda, what is the method of collection, and all those things. So the outcome of the pilot really will inform that. So who are our stakeholders? We are working with a number of stakeholders. The Mother Ministry, ICT, we are working with NEMA. Kcca is also part of that collaboration that we're working with. We're working with district authorities of Mukono and Wakiso, where the pilot is currently undergoing. And then we are working with Luwero Industries. Now, Luwero Industries is a military establishment. Now, they help in storing the ICT waste that we collect and recycle them. Because there's collection, then there's recycling. Somebody talked about that recycling of waste. So how can you participate in the pilot? Because the pilot is still running up to next year, around May. You can as well participate in the recycling. The first thing you're going to do is to bring your ICT waste that you no longer use in your houses, and you throw them into our dustbins. We have dustbin in designated places, but you can also call us, and then we direct you which dustbin is next to your working place or maybe your home, so that you can deliver those ICT systems there. The second one we seek from you is to become our ambassadors, because the objective, I think, Doreen talked about awareness. So this pilot is also trying to drive awareness. We want to make sure that Ugandans are aware that once you use an ICT system, you just don't throw it away. You need to hand it over or dispose it in a safe manner so that it doesn't cause harm to the environment, but also to the human beings. So we want to drive that culture, and you can work with us in that regard. So you're going to become our ambassadors effective today. UCC is in Bugolobi, but we have contact lines on the website, so you can call us. And also give us ideas, because the pilot is looking at 3 districts, but after the pilot, we want to roll it out to the entire country. So you could be having ideas, or you want to partner with us. You want to invest in eWest, how can you work with UCC? We welcome your ideas. So UCC is also running a campaign across the country, which we call Supplier'S. Now, Supplier'S is a campaign that tries to drive out counterfeit mobile phones, because we have found out that if a device is counterfeit, they do not last long as you may compare to these other devices that comply with the standards. You'll buy a phone today, you use it for 3 months. You'll buy a phone today from downtown and use it for 3 months, then it's no longer usable. So you find yourself every 6 months you're buying phones, you're buying phones, you're buying phones. I think, you want me to stop at this point? All right. Okay, no problem. So I can stop here. Thank you.
I had wanted him to add more after this. A big hand clap. You see, things that are scientific are usually very tough, but yet they're the ones that drive us. Did you know that a battery area under of a mobile phone, if you dumped it in Kcca, it can explode? You know that? Now you know. Please don't dump batteries or old phones. I know all of you here are very powerful people. A supplier of government is usually a rich person. And you want to change phones, but please don't drop them in Kcca because they are very dangerous to us. The engineers are the consumers of government budgets in large proportions, because they build the roads. There is no road that is below $1 billion. Now imagine if we are doing over 200 kilometers of roads. We are looking at over 200 billion. So the men and women at the tail end of that, the ones that make EGP very busy with big figures, are in the Uganda Association of Consulting Engineers. Please, how are you coming up to speed with saving our ecosystem? And how do we get assured of value for money for the works that you do? You're representing the suppliers here. I see Spencon, I see Starling here. I even see the people with the highest quality of, but those ones are in suppliers. Uganda prisons. Uganda prisons, please stand up for recognition. No one can ever beat a chair from Uganda prisons. Even the director HR sits on one. Engineer Msenze, assure us. In 5 minutes, please. Meanwhile, get your questions ready, please. Engineer.
Thank you very much, moderator, Honorable Minister, and Madam ED. Being that I'm the last of the panelists to speak, I'm going to break a little bit of the protocol, and I'll request you and everyone else to stand up just for 2 seconds or 3 seconds. Then I will request that you stretch a bit. Try to stretch a bit. To the left, to the right.
Pretend that you're engineers.
I would say raise up the hands a bit, then try to bend a bit, then you can sit.
Thank you.
We can sit. Thank you very much. See, Madam Honorable Minister and Madam ED, when the moderator says that we are the budget consumers, it's rather a bit misleading. But I think what he wanted to say is that we have a significant role we play. And that role is reflected in the budgets that we manage. However, when it gets to recognition, we are normally the last. To be more sincere, he had even forgotten about us until someone sacrificed their seat and said, let them take over. So we thank you, Madame Doreen, for fighting for us in Kcca and ensuring that our voice is normally heard. Because we normally hear from the regulators, and we are being pumped right from the ED's office at the extreme end. You go to the standards people, you go to the regulators, PPDA, you go to NEMA. We are always in running battles. But we have these running battles while we are executing our mandate. The Uganda Association of Consulting Engineers is the sole representative of the International Federation of Consulting Engineers. And often, yet, we are looked at as locals. When you get these big international jobs, you say we want international what? Consultants. But we subscribe to the International Federation of Consulting Engineers. Why do you look at us as locals? The contractors we have, they go to Tanzania, they go to Rwanda, they go to Ethiopia and Somalia and do these jobs. Are they local? They're international. So when you call, look at us in that perspective of the partners who execute a very significant mandate. And we understand landscape very well. We are the eyes of government when it gets to execution of works. We represent you, the government, on ground, on ensuring that we have value for money, on ensuring that there is timely delivery, on ensuring quality. Now, my friend James, you would remember, or I should say Dr. Kcca, you would remember our days of Katamba, those days at the university. No one would recognize that soon you would become the standards man. And I'm privileged to be sharing this platform as a contemporary. Because when we talk of standards, then we must recognize the relativity of standards. Often, as consultants, as engineers, we face this hardship. Government wants quality. Government wants standard. Government wants conservation. It's pristine environment. We should look after it. But then there is that forgetfulness and a trade-off between economy and cheapness. That is never differentiated. You'll want quality, but want economy, not cheap. When it gets to choice of suppliers, and you'll excuse me, I come from a background of the Association of Consulting Engineers, but being that I'm the only supplier amidst regulators, you will allow me to represent all the others. When it gets to the choice of a supplier, you want the lowest bidder. The lowest. But the lowest has given you a proposal. And you have evaluated this proposal, despite passing the technical criteria, still could be on the margin that they have just passed. And there is someone who has scored so highly on the technical. They have presented the experience, they have presented very superb approaches to doing things, but when you get the choice, you still go for the lowest. And the lowest could have won, through all aspects, following the quality cost, based sort of method. But they gave you a proposal of approaches that they will be following to deliver that project. Now, this is where we have the trade-off. You have a contractor like Starling, you have a consultant like Air, Water, Earth, who is ISO certified for quality, and was actually the first to be certified local engineering consultant for quality. Then quality management, then environment, all those international standards, and they are going to deliver to that standard. But then you get our proposal that did not go through financially, and we impose it to this other contractor, to this other consultant who did not provide you that proposal, who did not consider the cost implications, and you want them to implement. How are they going to deliver these services? Is that fairness? And I agree that sometimes as consultants, we come across as unfair. To the client, we are supposed to protect, we safeguard the interests of government. We protect the interests of government in ensuring quality, in ensuring timeliness, in ensuring value for money. But sometimes we become also a nuisance because the code of conduct we follow dictates the principle of fairness when it gets to the documents coming from PPDA. The principle of fairness balances the risk. Everyone is apportioned the risk that they should manage and within their ability and capability that they can deal with. I think this is also biblical. I think somewhere, those who can quote Pastor Justus, you can help us quote, where it says, everyone shall be tested according to their what? Ability. That no one shall ask for bread and be given what? Stone. The children. So if you ask for the right consultant, for the right contractor, and we give you the right proposal, then don't go for the cheap ones because they will not deliver the bread. They will give stones. Now, this is where we get these issues. This is where, as members of the Uganda Association of Consulting Engineers, as UNABSEC, the umbrella for contractors, and all those other suppliers, we come together and say, let us have a code of conduct. And whoever subscribes to us must adhere to delivering within these limits of this code of conduct. When it gets to us, there's no compromise with quality. You give work to a member of UACE, we scorn, we scold, we hold our own members responsible. When I'm going around town and I'm seeing construction works happening, I stop over and I give my colleagues a call and I say, Director, I see something happening here. Why is this culvert really so much high when here I expect it to be low and the people are supposed to be accessing? I borrow the principles of some people like the ED who say, I'm not an engineer, but I see this pipe, this culvert is very small. Shall it carry? And we argue. Principally, we say the hydraulics pass. But are these hydraulics going to suffice over the period of 20 years? Every time you construct a road, there is going to be changed conditions, developments, and all that. So why are we still using, say, 600 millimeters in a city which is growing, and we are designing infrastructure that is going to serve for 20 plus years? But of course, when we are looking at ecosystem conservation, then we look at the social, we look at the economy, and we look at the environment. Let's not prioritize only the economy. One person will say we take billions, each road is billions. But what is the nature of the road that we are constructing? Often the city has been blamed for this. What sort of facilities are needed on a city road? It's unfortunate that we haven't gone through our presentation, but we'll take you through, and later we'll appreciate. This road has got to have the carriage. It has got to have the separation of the traffic. You have got to have pedestrians. You have got to have, say, cyclists. You have got to have drainage. You have got to have lighting. And then yet still, someone compares the value for this 1 kilometer to maybe a national road which is 2 lanes without even a drainage system. They drain off the bush. They don't plant any trees. But here, in the city, for conservation, a good consultant should adhere to the urban roads design manual, cognizant of the challenges of the what? Of the city. So we must fix our eyes on the prize. Government should recognize the service providers, the engineers, the contractors as partners. And you should empower us to, through that recognition, to deliver. When it gets to service delivery, look at us with the same lens that you must have, though, deliberate efforts to help us grow. So, Mr. Moderator, you ask for what we need to do. We know what we can do, but I think the best question should be what you need to do to help us. Often when you deal with these big projects, actually, you would recognize that there is no much credence paid to the engineering aspect. Everyone knows that the engineers can deliver, but we go to the safeguards. We go to the safeguards. Talk of a World Bank project. How many times have we had technical audit and we are dealing with the engineering aspects? No. They come and they deal with safeguards. They deal with social issues. They deal with settlement aspects. They deal with the relocation of utility affecting the social and environmental aspects. They deal with the environment. Now, this extra cost or this extra credence comes at a cost. And this cost must be covered. We know that it has to be covered. And often, through our procurement documentation, if you engage a consultant to design for you, we shall put these needs. We now put a costed ESMMP, Environmental and Social Monitoring and Management Plan. It is costed. Please take note. If you have not been demanding for this from consultants, demand. But if you engage those from the Association of Consulting Engineers, we know we shall provide you without you asking. Demand for this. And when you demand for this, when it gets to that procurement cycle, ensure that you follow the guidance that is given. Because this is going to be the difference. If you do not provide, say, for cut to spoil, and the contractor has put a cost for taking the soil somewhere, for acquiring a piece which is NEMA is approving, for acquiring the necessary permits, if you do not allow for that cost, this contractor is going to become crafty. Before you know, they might even reuse the cut to spoil soils on the same road they are supposed to cut and take out, because they have nowhere to take. If it is about waste management, then they are going to pick the waste from our doorsteps, or they will come and do emptying, but then they will look for a wetland somewhere, and they will go and they empty there, because they cannot afford the cost of paying for where to dump. So, as the Association of Consulting Engineers, we are calling upon you to recognize us as partners, to have these deliberate efforts to allow us to grow. Say that tomorrow when big projects come, you should remember the bad days, Madam ED. We have worked for you, and we have projects for 6 years. We haven't been paid. Yes, 6 years. And Madam ED will say, you have just come, but for us, we see the ED. so when it comes to those areas, and we are not talking about, you see, you have given us a national platform. It's not only Kcca. In fact, we are very grateful that as Kcca, you have given us a platform to be heard. Leave alone the other side where we said we still come last. But at least we are here. Yeah, if you have heard and you're a service provider, you can clap for that. Because they have done great. And Kcca has pioneered a few of these initiatives, which we think are deliberate. Often, we talk about this framework contract. It is a good initiative. Director Engineering. I don't know if it came from procurement or it came from engineering. Wherever it came from, we see Kcca. This is a very good initiative. Often we would see work being lumped up. You get how many kilometers? 20 kilometers of roads to be done in the city. And then you look around, you say no local contractor can do this. 50 kilometers to be done. ADB is now currently how many kilometers? All the packages. How many kilometers? big. But when you break it down into small quarters that the locals can manage, then tomorrow when you say, we want a contractor who has done a dual carriageway, they will be there. But then don't demand for 20 kilometers of dual carriageway because you never construct that. You construct 5, 2. Why do you demand for 10? Demand for 3, maybe 2. Because that is what we have implemented. But often we get these demands that throw us away out of contention. Now what do? You give to international contractors. You give to international consultants who end up employing us. Thank you, Honorable Minister. You clap, the minister is clapping. So, Honorable Minister, the ministry has done great effort in ensuring that we get work. Through these initiatives, the economy, we could say, booming a little bit. Of course, with the money coming in areas, for us, we understand when you engage us. And we are saying, when these big projects also cluster them in a way that you can allow the locals to participate, that you can allow the locals to win this work. Director, you can call me at midnight and say, the people are dumping, in this, whatever. Where is your contractor? I'm passing by. But where are you going to find an international contractor, an international consultant? Me, probably even people here know where I stay. And the roads we are constructing are the roads we use. So, I'm thinking, have these deliberate efforts to attract us. And to us now, it is not only to the employer, but to us as the service providers as well. When we get the opportunity to perform, please perform. Because you are like a flag bearer. Madam Minister. The flag bearer. You are carrying the flag for your party, and this party is now our umbrella. The UNAPSEC, the consulting engineers, and you must uphold, because if you don't perform, the whip is coming to local contractors. It's coming to local consultants. But we know best what to do. What we are asking for are the deliberate efforts from you, the regulators. Regulators, when we come to you, also fast track. There's no need for us to go into running battles looking for NEMA. Yet our code of conduct does not allow us to come. Have this memoranda of understanding. Let us sit down and look at these review processes. Have these expedite processes of reviewing and making sure that government projects can be executed within time. Act like your partners. Guide on ways which are possible and not ways that are going to prevent growth from what? From happening. Regulator like PBDA, call us when you are coming up with the regulations. Don't just direct the Prime Minister to say, this one, you should go like this. No. Guide them. Previously, I was known for being the face that was probably fighting the Prime Minister's directive, yet I wasn't, and I'm lucky, or I should say I'm happy that this time I'm now the vice. Now there is another president of the association who is going to be pushing. Because people were saying, Musenze, instead of looking for jobs, you are fighting us. Everywhere I would go looking for jobs, everywhere they would see AWE, they would say, this one is a fighter. No, we are not fighting. Oh, when we fight, this is what they call a good fight. Because we are fighting for us. The same way you would say people went, before 1986 to put things what? To put things right. This you could equate to that sort of fight. So PPDA, call us when you are coming up with the regulations, engage us. We don't want to go into fights after the regulations have come and we go to courts of law and want to repeal them. Call us and we take you through what it means to have a time-based contract and what it means to have a lump sum contract. Let us take you through what it means by this ESMMP and what the contractors need. Don't just say environment is a must. It's a must, but under which confines? Okay? So we are calling for regulators, for employers to recognize us as partners so that we can execute our mandate. You will allow me to stop here for now.
Very good. Suppliers, please clap. This is your day, and that is why Mr. Musenze came last. Doreen, why did you give us cheap people? Ladies and gentlemen, the Director Engineering and Technical Services is here. He's called Engineer Kcca Justus. Please stand up for recognition. And I'm doing that because of engineer's submission. Ladies and gentlemen, the Director Treasury Services is here. He's responsible for the payments. Ladies and gentlemen, the Director Legal Affairs is here. Council Frank Rusa is responsible for signing the contracts. Ladies and gentlemen, Director Education and Social Services is here. Mr. Magnot Charles. We have our Zakayo, the Director Revenue Collection is here, Mr. Noelle Robert. Everything that you do translates into us collecting more revenue from you. We are going into the questions. But for the suppliers, I think government has done something. If you look at the GKMA, that is the World Bank project, Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area project, where we are doing quite a number of roads. The allotments are very, very small to allow contractors, local content, local contractors be able, because we have 1 kilometer, 1.5 kilometers, 900 meters, and Engineer Msenze. I think you should be thankful to the minister and the person who appointed her for that. Because under the Greater Kampala Metropolitan Area now, we have reduced the number of kilometers, and I believe, Engineer Justus, going forward, these will keep going on in order to grow local capacity and handhold local contractors. So we are with you, and we have heard your message. I saw the ED nodding in affirmation, and ED, your weekly visits, site visits, have not gone in vain. You have gone into the books and you have caught the attention of the engineers not to use 600 millimeter culverts, but to plan for the 20 years ahead by using 900. And those are what we are using now on the crossings on Allen Road and Savannah Road, to ensure that the floods or the stagnation of the water does not reoccur. If you look at the roads that we are doing, we are making them bigger to make sure that we conform to the safeguards. I know the questions are not going to Msenze or Engineer Msenze for that matter. The questions are going to the regulators. Let us have 5 questions. Honore, or the minister. 5. Oh, His Excellency has directed that we have the minister talk to us. And if, yes? And if, Honorable Minister, you would allow. Okay. The minister said that she wants to talk to you, and then the ED shall take up all your questions that are required to be addressed to the President and deliver them to her. I am not the right person to call the minister because I don't have the right feet. Allow me invite the Executive Director to call upon the Honorable Minister to speak to us. And all of you who are here, please keep calm. The Minister is going to speak. Madam ED.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Allow me take this singular honor to invite our Minister for Kampala, Capital City and Metropolitan Affairs, Honorable Hajat Minsa Kabanda, to speak to us. Prime Minister, you are welcome.
Thank you very much. The Executive Director, distinguished guests, Kcca leadership, the suppliers, the development partners, and all stakeholders. Good afternoon. It's a privilege to address you at the 5th Kcca Suppliers Conference. This conference represents a critical intersection of policy, implementation, and innovation, and it is essential to achieving our national vision for sustainable urban development. This year, our theme, Sustainable Supply Chain Management for Ecosystem Conservation, highlights the urgent need to integrate sustainability into every aspect of our operations and partnerships. This is not simply a slogan for today's gathering. It is a call to action that speaks directly to the future we want to safeguard. A sustainable supply chain is more than a sequence. It is a value system. It requires that each actor in the chain makes choices that protect our natural capital, reduce environmental harm, and promote resilience. Ecosystem conservation is no longer an optional add-on to development. It is a national imperative. By embracing sustainable supply chain management, we ensure that every road built, every material supplied, and every service delivered contributes to a greener, healthier, and more sustainable Kampala. When we speak of ecosystems, we are talking about the interaction between people, plants, animals, and their physical surroundings. The buildings, roads, parks, rivers, and wetlands that make our city livable. Every action we take as suppliers, contractors, and city leaders influences this delicate balance. The government of Uganda remains firmly committed to transforming our cities into well-planned, resilient, and environmentally conscious spaces. Our vision for Kampala aligns with the natural agenda, a city that is functional, economically vibrant, and ecologically sustainable. Achieving this vision requires deliberate policies that promote sustainable procurement, environmentally sound infrastructure, and responsible service delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, every procurement decision shapes how our infrastructure is built, how natural resources are managed, and how the environment absorbs the pressures of urban growth. The provision of goods and services by government is not an end. It's not an end in itself. It must be scrutinized to ensure that citizens do not pay other prices, such as degraded wetland, polluted water bodies, loss of green cover, or diminished public health. These hidden costs are far heavier than the monetary figures reflected in project budgets. It is for this reason that the 2021 amendment to the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Assets, that is PPDA Act, marked a transformative shift. Section 61 now provides for sustainable procurement, requiring every procurement and disposing entity to consider environmental protection, social inclusion, and innovation. In line with this mandate, the PPDA Authority, as early as 2019, revised the standard bidding document to incorporate environmental, social, and health safeguard in all public infrastructure procurement. This includes roads, drainage systems, water and sanitation projects, building works, and bridges. Today, all bidding documents and contracts must include clear measures to mitigate impacts on habitats, land use, water bodies, air quality, soil, and natural resources. Procuring entities must work with contractors to prevent pollution, manage waste responsibility, preserve flora and fauna, and protect wetlands. Non-compliance by either the contractor or the accounting officer constitutes a breach of law. The supply chain encompasses everything from the delivery of source materials from the supplier to the manufacturer through to processing, storage, transport, and eventual delivery to the end user. In the era of sustainability, we have moved a sustainable supply chain management where environmental, social, and financial considerations are integrated into every stage. Upstream, where raw materials are sourced and transported to factories, manufacturers must ask themselves, are our materials sourced responsibly? Are we reducing emission and protecting water and soil? Are we creating opportunities for vulnerable and youth in these early stages of production? By thinking about the environment from the very start, we safeguard natural resources and strengthen the integrity for supply chain. In the midstream stage, which includes the movement, storage, initial processing of intermediate goods, transporters, and logistics, companies must work to reduce pollution, use energy-efficient technologies, and maintain safeguard conditions for all employees. Contractor safety is a priority, and suppliers must ensure that women and girls are protected at work sites, that children are not exploited, and that youth have opportunities for skill development and employment. ICT solutions, digital tracking, and smart logistics system are critical tools to achieve efficiency, transparency, and environmental protection at this stage. Downstream, where finished products reach the end customer, suppliers must ensure that distribution, warehousing, order fulfillment, and logistics are carried out efficiently, safely, and with minimal environmental impact. Proper waste management, pollution control, and attention to the needs of vulnerable communities are essential. Every road, bridge, or building delivery must meet high standards, not only for quality, but for health and safety of the people and the environment it touches. To our suppliers, the government expects strict adherence to these safeguards, not partially, not selectively, but fully and consistently. You are required to demonstrate responsible sourcing of materials, pollution prevention measures, proper waste management, protection of natural ecosystems, and the use of environmentally conscious technologies. Let me be unequivocal suppliers who fail to comply with environmental and sustainability obligations will be sanctioned. The era of cutting corners, ignoring safeguards, or prioritizing profit over public interest is over. To Kcca, your duty is to enforce these requirements with firmness and consistency across all infrastructure projects, sustainable procurement, principles must be reflected in planning, bidding, supervision, and contract management. Development must never degrade the ecosystems that support life in our city. Infrastructure must be designed and built with resilience, environmental protection, and long-term value at the core. Ladies and gentlemen, sustainable development is a shared duty. It demands integrity in procurement, discipline in execution, and innovation in delivery. This conference is an opportunity to reaffirm our commitment, strengthen compliance, and align your operations with the national sustainability agenda. It will support all suppliers who comply, innovate, and deliver responsibly, but you also act decisively against non-compliant contractors who violate environmental and procurement standards. Let us build supply chains that protect our environment, conserve ecosystems, safeguard workers, uplift the youth, empower women, and improve the quality of our life for all residents. Let us work together to shape a Kampala and a Uganda where development and conservation move hand in hand. I thank the organizers, the executive director, and everybody who has made this happen. I also thank the panel here. Thank you very much for the presentation. I've listened carefully, and I thank you. And I think we need to engage you more, because we need you and you also need us. And I thank you, and I look forward to stronger partnerships and measurable results emerging from this conference. Thank you very much. Thank you, KCC, and all the directors. For God and my country.
Thank you very much, our Honorable Minister. Mama, I request that right before you take your seat, we have some group photos to take. I'm going to request the ED to please come forward, plus the panelists. Please remember. Madam ED, I'm requesting that we come up here. Photography directors, please. The directors, please get ready. Not now, please get ready, you'll be next. And I would also like to tell the organizing committee members to come forward and stand somewhere. You'll be right next after the directors. In that order, please come closer. Smile. You can say chain, just so we can see all your teeth as you smile. Are we good? Okay, I'm going to request the panelists to step aside. Honorable Minister and the ED, please stay here. The directors, please. All the directors present, please. And deputy directors, please come forward. Directors and deputy directors, please come forward. And town clerks. Directors, deputy directors, town clerks. Organizing committee, I don't see any of you standing up. Please come closer. You're next up here. The organizing committee, can you please come closer? Everybody dressed like me. And the gents, like some of the people you're seeing here, please come close. Let's smile. Says chain. supply chain. Okay, say cheese. It's Christmas after all. Okay, organizing committee, please. Thank you very much, directors and deputy directors. Organizing committee, please come closer. Organizing committee, work like using the speed you used to organize this event. Right after this, we'll have Kcca. Is that familiar to you? Kcca, Contracts Committee. When you follow up, they tell you it's where? In Kcca. You're about to see those people. Hey, you're leaving me out. Thank you very much. Kcca, please. Sorry, ED and the minister. Kcca, last one. Kcca, please, where are you? And PDU team. Kcca, please. PDU team, stay right there. Kcca, these are very important people. If I were you, I would clap as they walk just to bribe them for my next contract. Anyway, this is the contracts committee and Kcca. Others up, others down. Cheese. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for giving us this time and being here with us. And thank you very much, ED.
So, if we have, how many of us have questions for the panelists? Shall we write them down? Yes? I think we are going to write down the questions to the panelists, and we promise we are going, if you leave your email, we shall post the responses or take them up. And as we say farewell to the minister, Honorable Minister, please tell His Excellency Honorable Minister, please tell His Excellency, we know you're going to talk to him this evening, that everybody here is ready to protect the gains in procurement, and let's clap for that. You people, if you don't clap your hands, and that protection of gains must go on so that our contracts continue. so that you remain in the system. Tusigale mu kintu ekintu kyaffe kikole ki? Kintu kitambule Uganda kikule. Eh? Don't get shy about some of these things, especially around this time. Now, we have a very important aspect, and this is a huge, huge opportunity for us. We are looking for resources, and we have what we call green financing, cheap money from the World Bank, from African, from UDB, yes. Okay, the person you see, the Baganda say, Rubare w'omulamu takola ki? Tasamirirwa. So I'm requesting for the Rubare of green financing to come and tell us how we can access this money. And this is one of those presentations that is very key, especially to fund our projects, to ensure we grow this country. We thank the panelists who have gone with the minister, they have gone to support. But the person for green financing, please, are they here? Okay. If we have the questions that we wanted to raise, let's raise them now. If you have the concerns with Doreen and the procurement department, please raise them. This is meant to be your session. It's meant to be a suppliers. Yes, you have a question? We have a question here.
5 questions.
And please
no
feel
order.
free.
1.
Starting here, there is another question here.
Just 1 minute. There is a lady here. Shows the first.
Thank you so much.
Where is our rapporteur? Who is recording the questions from Doreen? Who is recording the questions? Emeru. Emeru and Anne. Anne, please record these questions because they are very key. Okay, someone is recording the questions. We've gotten someone. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much. My concerns are 2, and I'm going to be very brief. The first concern is about payments. Payments are taking forever. You follow up payments and you feel frustrated. If they could find a way of streamlining the way payments are done, otherwise we keep jumping here and there and it becomes very frustrating. The other issue is about the time we put IFRIS. We've raised this concern, and this is, I think, my 3rd attendance, and it has always been raised by other participants. The point at which we raise IFRIS, we have requested that we raise IFRIS at a payment time when documents reach Treasury. It has failed to be, we have failed to be helped. You raise the IFRIS too early, and then by the time documents reach Treasury, they say there's no money. Your payment sits in Treasury, and then taxes keep on accumulating. URA doesn't want to know. Once you raise IFRIS, you must clear the taxes. So we get frustrated, and it becomes worse when it happens around June, end of financial year, payments go into arrears. Then you have to keep on chasing for payment. URA wants its money. You're subjected to third-party notices. It's really becoming very frustrating. Thank you.
Thank you. The Director of Treasury Services, okay. They have caucus. Where's the Director of Engineering? Also should be there. Yes, let's go on. From there, okay. Yes, please go ahead.
My name is Hasibur Rahman. I am representing Sterling Civil Engineering Limited. I had 2 questions, if you allow me. Okay. Now the first question is, I inspired with this engineer Musenzi and what he talked about. The question is in relation to that, yeah? That how will KCCA ensure that contracts for asphalt and other road materials are not awarded just because a supplier's rates are a bit lower, especially when that supplier has no approved quarry, crusher or asphalt plant and is not certified by the Ministry of Works? What steps are being taken to make sure technical capacity and environmental compliance are given more weight than simply low pricing? As PPDA, one of the small clause, the Act says contracts must be awarded to the best evaluated bid, not just the lowest price. This means evaluation must consider quality, qualifications, and compliance with specifications, not price. That was my first question, yeah. If you allow me for second question, we would like to raise a concern about delays in processing our payment certificates under the framework contract. We completed the pilot project work like NAM and others as assigned and submitted both the payment certificates and retention certificates. But the processing takes very long, sometimes close to a year. This affects our cash flow and our ability to deliver. Thank you so much.
Okay. Online participants, please send in your questions as well. We have someone recording them. Online participants, thank you so much for joining in. And please go in the comment section and send in your questions or comments.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Peter Katumba Wamala. I'm Director, Big Zero Holdings Limited. It's a company into waste management with a trading name called Tuvichima Mobile Waste. I have some few questions. 2 years back, I was training in Germany about on how we can handle our waste in Kampala, where I invited even Minister of Kampala, Honorable Chofa Togabye, and former Deputy ED, where I set a visit with our company based in Kempton. So we went, one came, but another one didn't come. But we came back here. We got some issues with Kcca. I sent a few months back a letter to ED about this same issue. And 2 years, remember, we had a tender which was advertised, we bidded, but later they told us that it has been halted. So we want to know what happened. Was it because some of these players were their colleagues or what? Because we made sure that we meet all the requirements, and they told us that there are some legal advices they got from their legal team or committee. But we have a question in that. It is the same legal committee or team which was involved in tender preparation. And at the same time, they are the one advised after. Remember, there are expenses involved. During that process, we followed the PPDA practices. So we have so many questions. If they are legal on the other side, KCC should expect that there are some legal from our side as well who participated.
So
And,
your question is, you participated in a bidding process for waste management?
We were told that the process was halted
And
without any communication. It is cancelled, in short.
Thank you.
So we want to know the way forward because there is no communication 2 years now about that.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Yes, another, what do we have online? Yes?
Let's check online. Looks like the people around here are content.
Can we take, it seems the questions are around delayed payments.
One last one.
Okay.
Thank you, and whoever here, greetings. I'm called Jobati Automobiles, and I'm the CEO of Jobati Automobiles, dealing in motor vehicle repairs and maintenance. So, actually, I would not take this opportunity to be wasted because they were given 5 people and there have been 3. I'm emphasizing on the issue of the delayed payments. Let's see how we can handle that issue. Thank you.
Okay. We have another. Can I say that is it?
There is one last
Oh.
one here.
Thank you very much. We are talking about ecosystem in this conference, and I am thinking that we should have clean air, but we have too much pollution in Kampala. But my point is about the trucks that collect and dispose the garbage. And along the way, in the process, they emit a lot of smelly liquid. On a bad day, if you meet that truck in a traffic, you suffer locally if you don't have air conditioning in your car. My question is there a way those collecting and disposing trucks can mitigate that liquid is not pouring on our roads in a way, and if there is no solution for that, then Jolish Investments Limited would come in handy. I represent Jolish Investments Limited. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that is all for the questions. Daniel, over to you.
Okay. Usually the questions will go to the boss. Madam ED, please.
Thank you very much, our suppliers, our participants, for the questions you have been able to raise. They are all pertinent questions, and they talk to how best we can improve to ensure that you do your work well, and we also do our work well. There was a general question on delayed payments, and I want to call upon 2 people who have a critical role to play in ensuring that payments are made timely. All the delays were around road construction, vehicle repair. So I would like to call the Director, Engineering and Technical Services, because he hosts the clearing house for certification of completion of works before it goes to Treasury Services. I will also, after, call upon the Director, Treasury Services, to tell us why we also have delays after clearance from engineering, and he will also cover the works of audit. So those questions on delayed payments, processing of payments, will go to those 2. IFRIS, Director Revenue, there was a question on IFRIS. I know Uganda Revenue Authority is not here, so you are representing. You will be able to answer that question and erase the fear of the supplier who raised it, and what is the remedy available in that direction. The head procurement and disposal unit, we, instead of awarding the best evaluated bidder, considering all the criteria we have put forward, we finally zero onto the lowest bidder. When are we departing from that to ensure quality? There was that question. I'll call upon you to come and talk to it. The other one was also on delayed payments affecting cash flow and completion of work. So Treasury Services and Engineering, you will answer that. Then what happened to the tender or the offer we put forward on waste management? It was halted. What is the way forward? PDU you are coming in also to answer that one, Doreen. The other one was on delayed payments for motor vehicle repair. It is to Director Treasury Services and Engineering. Then clean air, pollution, trucks not being covered, collecting smelly garbage. I don't know whether we still have rotting garbage in town, but the director, the deputy executive director will answer that question. Engineering.
Thank you, Edie. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming. And I'm glad so many contractors and consultants are here. There was a question raised concerning delayed certification of works. To my recollection, all works are certified in time. And I don't know whether it is starting only, but the procedure is once you submit a claim, if we have a consultant, the consultant goes to measure and ensure that what you have claimed is fine, and then finally prepares a certificate. Then it comes to our Directorate of Engineering. And it moves through. And we have agreed with my team, for every officer, it should be 3 days. And on my desk, it is 1 day. So with regard to that, maybe that was a some time ago certificate, 1 or 2. But in general, we issue certificates on time. And the process from there, it goes to audit, and then treasury, and then we prepare payments. So if there is anyone who has a certificate that has been delayed to be cleared, please get in touch. Because as far as I'm concerned, on my desk, there is no pending certificate. On terms of delayed payments, and I want to thank you for delivering works patiently. You all know the government cycle of releasing of funds. And I think the moment we give you these contracts, you should put that in your mind, that we have these funds quarterly. And every time they have released funds, I think he is my witness that I always absorb even up to 90%. But I move towards 100%. So every time we get funds, we pay you. We are committed to paying you anytime they give us funds. And I think I talked with some of you that compared to other MDAs who are giving you works, we are the best payees. We are the best payees. So we will continue with that spirit and we will move forward. There are those who have areas, and the Director of Treasury will speak into that. We budgeted for that in this financial year, and we hope the release will come very soon, maybe in the next quarter, and we pay you. So don't worry, it is already catered for in this financial year. Once money comes, we will pay you all the pending certificates. We value your partnership, and we know you cannot work with good cash flow. But I thank you for being our partners and for delivering works, even with these kind of hiccups here and there. I thank you.
Before I go to Director Treasury Services, the moment you mentioned the word arrears, you are confirming delayed payment. So, for example, people who worked under NAM, why are we still having them unpaid? And yet you clear certificates on time.
Thank you, ED. The payment is a process. Once I issue a certificate and it is audited, and I send it to Treasury, the Treasury man will say, we'll look at available funding. And the moment funds are not available, then we hold it and it becomes an arrears. For arrears, we are talking of those which were executed before June, before July, last financial year. The arrears accrue because of unavailability of funds, but it's not because of certification. So we certify on time, but because funds are not available, then we delay to pay. But we are committed to pay once funds are available.
Director of Treasury Services, is it true that we committed government to do these works without availability of funds, and thus we accumulated these areas?
Thank you, ED. The procurement processes for Kcca, especially works, most of the contracts we have are multi-year contracts. They don't, given the framework contracts that were introduced, when they issue like a framework contract in the month of May or April, works cannot be executed within the same financial year. It depends on the speed of the contractor. And at times, if we found a good contractor will execute that works, which would have taken 6 months in 2 or 3 months. And yet the budget is a limited what? Is a limited budget. That is why some of the certificates are not paid at the close of the financial year, and they are carried forward in the next financial year. That is why. Now, the second one, there is no commitment which is above 6 years as it was raised somewhere. Commitments we have, they are for a short period because we use FIFO principle, first in, first out. Say for the KIDIP, which closed with close to over 30 billion. This was a project, and the government has tried to prioritize the payment of this, and it has reduced. Now it is less than 15 billion left to be paid. And part of this, the government has a deliberate effort to these areas paid. And this financial year, which is running, we have 31 billion, which was budgeted for, only that it is not yet released. And of recent, the Auditor General sent the auditors to come and verify these. On that basis of the report from the external auditors, the Minister of Finance is going to release this money. If it had been released, I don't think either these issues will be questioned here. And maybe for the legal costs, those ones I can accept that those are beyond 6 years. But anything which is works related, it is not, because we have tried to prioritize first in, first out. And as I talk now, the most areas were the last financial year. Anything beyond that, surely unless if it is KIDIP or legal cases costs, which are not adequately provided for. But as we move on, I know this one is going to be addressed. Now that we have got 39 billion, it is going to reduce this drastically. Now, when it comes to some projects, like I was disappointed last financial year, I returned over 100 billion shillings in relation to Kcca project. I had no certificates to pay. I could not use this money to pay other suppliers because it is conditioned. it had to be returned. This one is also a big challenge. Right now, I have a lot of money on account for these projects like Kcca. Where are the certificates? At the end of the day, when the project closes, it will close with obligations. Because they will not be there to clear these obligations. They will leave it to government. And that's why we are suffering with the Kcca. You're also slow at delivering. So we need also you need to help us, because you also make our offices uncomfortable. If I have a lot of money on account, I'm also uncomfortable with that money. And if it is taken away by the donor, I'm also uncomfortable because the burden is going to government. I think that's the area I was supposed to talk about. Thank you.
They have heard.
There is another issue on invoices. Invoices. Me, I'm comfortable to receive an invoice when there is availability of what funds. If you raise an invoice, when the money is a problem, it is true. But me, I can request for that invoice when there is availability of what? Of funds. Thank you.
So how do you want them to know that there is availability of funds?
Chair, ED, we have their contacts. We have their contacts, we can raise them. Because even in the bidding documents, those contacts are there.
Now, me, I will defer. I don't want that method of contacts. This information should be available to the public, and also by the time these people come to us to bid for works, we have told them we have money for these works. And Doreen, I always see you saying according to the procurement plan, this money is not there. And as such, I always tell people the Form 5 should be within the limit which is available. So I want also you to talk to that, because I don't want us to create a situation where suppliers are at the liberty of the person who will call. This information should be available. We have contracted you to do this work. We have the budget. If they raise a requisition and we do not have the money, we are saying it is in the next financial year. Let's communicate that officially, so that people can control their appetite. They know how long to wait and when to ask next. Okay. The next question was for PDU. Oh, no. Director Revenue, Uganda Revenue Authority.
Thank you very much, Madam ED. I'm also going to utilize this opportunity to thank you very much, our dear suppliers, for having honored our invitation and for having shown the keenness by participating in these very large numbers. But I also want to thank you for the feedback that you have given to us. I am the Director of Revenue Collection, and of course, Kcca, and of course, my ED knows that. I know why she's very deliberate in passing over this question to me. The question, Madam ED and the suppliers, which I have been asked to speak to, concerns IFRIS, electronic fiscal receipting and the invoicing system. This is a system that was introduced by our sister organization, Uganda Revenue Authority, about 2 years ago. This system is a very good system, and it is meant, among others, to help us, you, the business people, and probably us, the people who are on the regulatory side, to evidence the business transactions that we engage in. Evidencing of business transactions is something that is very useful to both you, the business people, but also to the tax authorities, and in this particular case, Uganda Revenue Authority. But, like you'll appreciate, when it comes to matters of a new system, there are usually some challenges which we encounter on the way. Like I indicated, this system was introduced about 2 years ago, and in effect, it's more or less like just being piloted. Along the way, Uganda Revenue Authority and those of us who support it in its implementation have been identifying areas where there is need for improvement. And what you have pointed out today is probably one of those areas where we need to look at the issues that you have raised. We are going to share with our colleagues in URA about the issues that you have raised about IFRIS. Most likely, they had already taken note of it, but we are again going to re-emphasize it, and I'm very sure we shall find a way of giving you an appropriate response at an appropriate time in terms of real action being taken. I think that's what I can say about that issue which you raised about IFRIS. Madam ED, that's, I beg to hand over at this moment.
Okay, thank you very much. But if you please, if I heard how well, we can carry it over, but if you can answer, then it would be okay. When they register for IFRIS and they are enrolled, URA starts taxing them, and we delay to pay. So the question is, are you taxed based on the time you have stayed on the system, or for works paid, done, or supplies made, or how are you invoiced? I am not a taxman, I don't know the right language, but I know you have understood the vernacular.
I'm not very sure whether and this is one of the reasons I had intended to pass over this issue to the most competent people, which is URA, because I don't want them to accuse me at any one stage that probably I did not address this matter the way they would have addressed it if they were the ones who were answering it. But one thing that I know is that the invoicing date, which is to do with the actually when the transaction is happening, should be the guiding factor in as far as when to start the taxation process is concerned. But like I said, Madam ED, I beg that I leave it at that level. And if possible, whoever raised this matter, if I can see you so that I find a way of contacting my colleagues in URA and then giving you the most appropriate feedback regarding the issue which you have raised. Madam ED, if you permit me, I will leave it at that.
Okay, thank you very much. I am going to request you to interact with this particular supplier and get the right version of what she wanted so that we can escalate to Uganda Revenue Authority. PDU?
Thank you, ED. Thank you, our suppliers. PDU is the gatekeeper. And we see you in and see you out. The concern is we are taking the lowest bidder. I think this is not correct. Our evaluations are done in 3 stages. The first stage is what we call preliminary, we check eligibility. Second stage is technical compliance, and it is only the technical compliant bidder that is looked at when it comes to financial evaluation. Your bid could be higher than the other one, but because of price, you might call it low quality. No, it's not correct. We check all those. Eligibility, preliminary assessment, we go to technical. Actually, these days, we even go beyond and do post-qualification and due diligence. For those that are falling short of performance, they've also seen their way out because we do supplier appraisal, looking at past performance, and we don't award them contracts. Be rest assured that at least KCCA try to do professional work when it comes to procurement. We've not had many complaints. I've been proud stating to my current ED that for the last 12 years at least I've not seen a sustained administrative review. That is a clear indication of transparent and accountable processes. Thank you. I think this. Thank you, ED, and the person who asked the question. Yes, we advertise. This is for waste collection. But in the middle of the bidding process, we realized that there were some gaps that we needed to close, especially given the previous concession agreements where we made some legal challenges, so we needed to bridge that gap. So later, consult different stakeholders, including other offices. We've since received the guidance, and we are in the, I think, in the final stages of re-advertising the opportunity. Remember, members, in all our adverts, we usually state and put a disclaimer that we have a right not to award or to cancel before we pronounce a best evaluated bidder. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that response. DED.
Thank you, ED. The question I'm giving response to is the issue of air pollution and air quality vis-a-vis the garbage trucks that deliver the garbage. It has been alleged that driving behind any of these garbage trucks as they go to deliver garbage, unless you have a good AC, you'll actually be in trouble. I want to state without fear of being contradiction, that that might have been true many months ago when Kampala had overdue garbage in the markets on the roads that would rot. A few things have happened. One, garbage management by KCC has been decentralized to the divisions, and this has enabled us to find the garbage fast and evacuate it to our new site in Buyala. Secondly, in places like markets where garbage would be put on roads and it remained for a long time, we have adopted a bring to truck, and the places where there is garbage have a schedule which is known, and therefore trucks do rounds of 2 to 3 times a day, which means that garbage that is created in a day has very high chances of being repatriated or evacuated to the garbage sites. But also, we are aware that the private concessionaires have trucks that do not have closed chambers like the Kcca trucks. So those have been advised, in fact directed, to make sure that they cover their trucks, to make sure that garbage does not spill during the transportation period. Because of this, the issue of polluting the environment, especially with smells, has been reduced to near zero, because garbage that has stayed merely overnight cannot create leachate like it had been previously. I thank you, Madam Edie.
Thank you very much for those responses. I now would like to crown up all these questions, but starting with where my DED has left. We still have areas of improvements in terms of the concessionaires and the trucks which take the garbage. Obviously, the issue of smell, I agree with him. We no longer keep garbage held in one place for long, but the compliance to covering these trucks to avoid littering the place as they go to Wiyala, we still have an issue there. We commit to getting to these concessionaires and our own trucks to ensure that they are covered so that they do not leave again what they have picked from one place in another place. But what is my parting shot? I may not come back to speak to you again. Our suppliers, our contractors, we do not take the fact that you respond to our tender offers, our calls for granted. There are 2 or 3 things which define an organization in being attractive in the services they offer or not being attractive. If I put up a job offer inviting people to apply for jobs in Kcca, and you see Kcca advertising and re-advertising 1 time, 2 times, 3 times without attracting, there is a message which is being sent. Either there is no job security in that organization, either the people who work for that organization give feedback which makes it unattractive for other people to come, or as an organization, you are not a good employer, totally. So if this conference today was not full to capacity like it is, you would have told us that we are not good people to work with. I thank you for re-imaging our image. Despite the few challenges you have outlined, for which we are committed to handle, you have showed us that Kcca is an authority worth contracting with. Thank you so much.
The Kathingo was very far. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for those who have raised questions that have not been responded to, or those who have written them down. We surely are going to respond to them. There are those that we have picked, for example, the transparency in availability of funds. I remember you all clapped for it. You can clap for it again. That is going to be implemented. And as an institution, we are grateful that you have made it to this day. We thank the organizing members and each one of you for making it. Lunch is ready. And I don't know whether we can have a word of prayer to eat the food, or we can use the prayer that we used in the beginning to have the lunch. But if one of you wishes to add another prayer, please stand up. I give you the microphone. You bless the food. But we are very, very grateful that you have made Kampala what it is, despite the few challenges that we have made. And I continue to appeal to you to protect the gains. God bless you, and may you have a great lunch.
Please don't forget to pick your coupon for lunch at the exit door. If you haven't gotten one, please pass by that line and get a coupon. They're serving lunch in the next hall out there. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Amanya agange nze namuganye Sumaia nga nsinzidde Kabowa wano. Ndi chairman wa kibiina kye bayita Perfect Designers Women's Project era nga ekibiina ekyo tekinnatandika twalina obubiina buno bw'abakyala nga bw'otuula ne musonde ssente ne mugabana awo kale nga nina akalaani kange nga nkolera ku kkubo nali sina naye nga waliwo ne bannanga abalala abamu batunzi abamu baluka abamu batunda amatooke nga bwe tuli mu kaguruupu munnaye tuba tuli awo nga tuwulira ekizindaalo omukyala bamuyita kansala Nakitto ng'ayisa ekizindaalo atugamba abakyala mwenna mujje waliwo programu gye bayita UWEP yazze mujje abagala okwewandiisa mwewandiise nga tukiwulira bwali bwakiro nga ngamba ku bannange banaye mukiwulidde ekizindaalo nti tukiwulidde nga tugenda baali batugambye kabowa siyu nga batugambye bwe bagenda okubeera bagenda otusomesa abakyala nga batutuuza nga batubuulira programu eyo nga we yali nga batusomesaamu awo nga batugamba wandiise kati nga tumala okusoma nga batugamba muddeeyo musomese bannammwe twagendayo okusoma enfunda ezawera ddala 4 nga tetunnafuna ssente ne batugamba muguleewo akawunti ago tugenze munnange nga batufulumizaako miliyoni 10 nezaayizigwamu awo nga tusanyuka atugamba naye tetukirabangako nga baddamu olwo era batusomesa nga tugenda nga tukwata ssente twasooka kujjayo kitundu munaye nga tugenda sooka tugula indasitrio meka nga tugulako indasitrio zaffe 2 nga tuzikuba wali nga tugamba mu programu yaffe kuba batubuuza aim and vision ne tugamba ffe twagala ku empowering abaana abawala abali ku kyalo bayige ebyalaani nga tetubajjako ssente nga tugulako embroidery weri nga tugulako ekyalaani kya overlooko ne babylooko nga tugulayo ne bumatiriyo abamarketing mugenda kunoonya mirimu nti ye nga tubajjako abanaazitunda olwotandisa okulinnya omutindo gulinnye engoye tufulumya mutindo olwo obusomero bwaffe bwe twakoleranga bukamukamu bwaffe batandisa ogaba bannaye nga mwafulumiza mukoze na bino ebyabazungu obubonero bwe twatwalanga mu tawuni nga tutandisa obweteerako embroidery twagigula tugenda okulaba ssente zitandisa okuyingira tetwafuna bufunyi ssente mu kibiina ekyo naye kyatuwa okuyiga okw'amaanyi bannaffe abalala bakozemu ne branch naye nga kiva wano so
tubeera kunze kenyini omuntu amukozesa ebicupa ebyakasasiro bwe mbyawula nabifunamu ennimiro obucupa obutono bwombusootinga waliwo abutwala n'abukolamu enjeyo n'ebivunda nga ebyenkuta by'amatooke tulina owente n'obuveera obukalu nabwo ndina wembusanga obuveera obukalu nti Kcca bwe beeyitawo emmotoka eyimirira awo ne bakwasa obuveera obwo ne babutwala mpoziko n'ekirala bwe mba ngenze mu katale okugula ebintu ebikozesebwa awaka ngenda n'ekikapu kyange neewala okujja n'entuumu y'ebintu n'esijja nga nkwataganye nnyo kubanga mba nkutte ekintu kya mulundi gumu ate n'ekyokulala mba nange nzikakanyiza kasasiro awaka wange nga ebisigalidde byabwe mbirekayo mu katale ze n'esigaza ebyange